show on the.
The Sunday Spank.
All right, party people in the place to be, vandals, and all the people that I guess are leaving the party alone. This is a brand new episode of the Sunday Spank. We are covering book 3, Deluxe book 3 of Deadly Class. This is we're getting to it, guys. Like, we got one more after this, and man, a lot happens in this book. I mean, a ton. Some of my favorite actual sequences from this series take place in this book. So it's going to be fun to finally share those with some people and have a giggle with some friends. But before we get into all that, man, like, what have you guys been up to, man? How you guys doing?
Matt, how you been doing, man? Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. A pleasure to be here again. Thank you very much for having me, first and foremost. But yeah, just, doing podcasts and speaking to friends and working and not eating healthily and not going to the gym and not losing any weight. So that's my life at the moment.
True. Having eggs Benedict for breakfast is not the best diet routine. It was good. It was good. Yeah, it looked good when you sent me the picture. I thought it looked good.
Yeah, it looks good. The little sprinkle of the greenery does nothing to the taste. But I knew that I was going to be sending photos.
Yeah.
I hope so. But that hollandaise sauce is just like butter. I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
I thought it was like
butter. Yeah, and egg yellows, the yellow of the yolks, the egg yolks, and butter. Yeah, with just a little touch of milk. Yeah,
little squeeze of lemon.
Did you do it cooked, or did you do the cold blender version?
Oh no! What I didn't have was a small enough saucepan in a big enough glass bowl. So I took the top off my cafetiere, so I had the glass thing. I filled that with boiling water from the kettle, and then perched a little breakfast bowl on top. And it was all it's not difficult like all this always splits and that. It's not. You just have to have like wrist endurance. So I feel like I was training for this my whole life.
See, I've never tried the blender version because I know there's a blender version. I always did like the what do you call it? The double boiler type thing there, like you were saying.
Exactly right.
That's the. But then I got lazy. I found these pouches that were pretty damn good, and now I just use those. It's just so
I won't be doing it again because I had a little break. I've done Deadly Class and this Deluxe in about 3 parts. So the first one I did, I read some on Thursday night. Read a bit Friday. What are we on now? So last night, because Friday night I was doing the authority for our show. Right there you go.
And the end pod.
The end pod, which you can find in all your favorite listening locations as Spank Media, The End, and we're also on YouTube as End Pod, The End, One Shot. So just The End, One Shots, and Joe, if I'd be as bold. So we've just done the authority, and we're rounding off the source material behind James Gunn's DCU. We've done Morrison's Batman, we've done Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which is special. We did All-Star Superman, which Joe was about for, which was not special. On the list of opinions, but yeah,
it's a good thing Frank Quietly did the art on that, or else I don't know if I would have made it through it.
So Matt, how'd you enjoy the authority?
Well, I mean, I won't say I respected the authority. It was fine. It was all right. I just didn't understand how, like, there's supposed to be this unbridled, like, attack, like they're a problem, or are they another problem, or are they solving the problem? It was just very well written, enjoyable, but it just seemed like standard superhero team fare with a little bit more of an edge. But we're only halfway through.
I know what you mean, like, because they're presented as like, oh, they're almost like the superheroes and the boys. They're actually kind of more like bad guys, and I never really got that. Aside from Midnighter, like cracking heads open, they kind of just acted like, yeah, a pretty normal superhero team, except for like, I guess they kind of like they would talk shit. They were kind of shittier, but like
yeah.
it's to be expected with the creative teams that worked on it.
I the one thing that I like is it Midnighter and is it? It's not Orion, is it? Who's the guy?
Apollo, yeah.
That's it. So you have like a Batman analog and a Superman analog, and they're like in a gay partnership as well, which is pretty cool for the time. And they don't kind of make a point of it. It's just happening in the comic, which
get to the Garth Ennis Kev books. They really overdo it with those ones.
Like it wasn't salacious storytelling. Like it wasn't for the point of, oh, aren't we? It was just, there they go.
I highly recommend reading the Ed Brubaker and the Mark Millar runs of Authority. I think that those are actually better. Yeah, those are the best actually written Authority runs, in my opinion.
Yeah, with this sort of what's the word, like unsupervised sort of threat they're a law unto themselves. When people talk like that, I think that the comic that springs to mind that is probably more planetary, because it's kind of like the grand scheme, a few lives against, letting a few die against saving a whole world, or this world's expendable. Like that kind of devil may care sort of hero is more aligned with what I've read in Planetary than this.
Which begs to mention, have you checked out the new DC book Outsiders, which is basically like the new Planetary? I
haven't. I've given up on keeping up to date on new stuff. There's just too much. Like I did the whole Marvel pull list for a few years, getting anywhere between 50 and 80 a month, and I drowned in that. It put me off reading comics because half of it was crap. I always ended up missing out on something that was pretty good, and then I started getting the trades, and then it's just overwhelming. There's just too much. Like when I started, it was Marvel, DC, check the shelves for an image trade. That was basically it. Now, if you try read everything, you end up reading nothing. And yeah, I'm just retrospective reads, and the podcast keeps me pretty busy. I mean, we've got a packed schedule between now and the end of February, which is generally around sort of comics, but until Joe comes back in December for our Christmas films episode. But yeah, I find that reading for pleasure is kind of on the back burner for the foreseeable future. But yeah, the task at hand is too grand for me. Let's say that.
When you get a second, I got a recommendation. It's right up your alley anyway.
Please do.
Yeah, Rosenberg's Wildcats, man. I've been really enjoying that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually better. Rosenberg. It's actually better than anything he wrote at Marvel, man. Like all that garbage he wrote at Marvel, this kind of redeems all of that. I'm like, yeah, he can do superheroes and make it actually fun.
We're just different. We're on the same page. We're just on different sides, because I quite liked everything he did at Marvel, but then I quite like Marvel. So,
so how you been, Johnny?
We had Thanksgiving and kind of over the break. Like I read all of Lemire's Bloodshot. Like I haven't read that since I bought the trades. Like
okay, nice.
And I really enjoyed getting back into that. That was a lot of fun. Kind of the closest you'll ever see to him kind of doing like a Wolverine or Punisher type book.
Okay, yeah.
There's some Captain America in there too, especially when you get like all the older Bloodshots hanging out with them. Like it's pretty fun. He doesn't try to like make you cry at any point. He doesn't try to like, oh, Bloodshot's got cancer, and now like he did like with a lot of his Marvel books. This is just like balls to the wall, kind of dumb superhero stuff, and it's kind of fun to see Jeff write that and have a good time doing it.
Had you read any Bloodshot previously? Because I was on a reel when I first started in my pull list in that, and I started to realize, it's not necessarily the characters, it's the writers. And Lemire was one of the first ones that stood out to me, because I thought his old man Logan was exemplary. What else was he doing? I think it was Moon Knight at the time, or whatever else.
Yeah.
So I started picking up some of the older stuff. Like I've got. What's the farm one?
Dwayne
memories.
Dwayne Kerensky's run, or
no? whatever it is, gets back to the point. So yeah, Bloodshot. I was just completely overwhelmed with lore. I didn't have a clue what was going on. Was it just a case that I didn't know what was going on, or was it just that I hadn't read enough comics at that point? Do you think?
Maybe you hadn't read enough comics, because I was able to, because I hadn't previously read any Bloodshot before Jeff Lemire's run with Reborn, and I was able to kind of get it. Like it was. But I have gone back and read Dwayne Scisorinsky. I think he kind of wrote it a couple of people before Lemire. And then I read like Tim Selle's Bloodshot a little bit. But like I didn't really like anybody else's as much as I liked the Jeff Lemire run. I thought that like that kind of exemplified the character in really fun ways.
Essex County was the one I was trying to remember.
Okay, the farm. Yeah, on the farm.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd already been a huge fan of his before, but like
the Bloodshot.
Yeah. Sweet. I think Sweet Tooth's still probably my top 3. I still love that story. Mm-hmm. It's just so it has everything, like levity, tragedy. It's just such a perfectly written sort of story, and it's not afraid to lean into either at any point as well. Really, really good story.
Yeah. So what we are here for is Deadly Class Book 3, like Johnny said. So we did our introductions, kind of said what we're up to. So now let's get into this book. You guys ready to dig into this?
Hang on. I want to let everybody know. I want to let everybody know that we will be going full spoilers. So here's
spoilers.
Ooh, I think my hymen just broke.
All right, and we're going to get into it now. Basically, where we left off, the kids have met up with Marcus and Maria down in Mexico. They were kind of partying. Quan was triple dealing, basically. He not only had the Cherokee gang showing up, he also let Victor in on knowing where Marcus was. So that's where we kind of left off, was Marcus and Victor and a standoff, when all of a sudden they get invaded by like all these really cool punk rock Frank Miller ninjas. And you get Marcus's really great dialogue about like, oh, I am in a Frank Miller comic. And like he does this whole thing like, I throw Victor with a sword, his flesh gets cut. You know, he does the whole Sin City dialogue thing, which is really cool. And then we get kind of a big flash at like what basically like the group's kind of broken up. Like Marcus is fighting Brandy and Victor when the ninjas come in, while basically Petra and Helmut are running from the federales. Juan and Maria are hiding in like a house, and Zinzelli and Tashawi are that's what I meant. Tashawi and Zinzelli are hiding in a house.
In a closet.
In the closet. And who am I missing?
It's like in the little refrigerator, isn't
it? You got Brandy and Victor, but they're like with Marcus, kind of really like battling it out with those the Yakuza punks. Okay. And there's like this is like this kicks off. This is one thing I have to say about this book is every time it ends, the next chapter, like book 2 was the rats, right? It was the whole hunt the rats. So these books, like after the first book, like book 2 kicks off with just like balls to the walls action. And book 3 starts off the same way, where you get the confrontation of Victor with the crew down south. And then all of a sudden, to add on top of it, like Johnny says, you have these punk rock Yakuza show up to the party as well, right? So you have, and it's just mayhem. It's just skulls cracking, guns firing, blood flying and splattering. I mean,
absolute chaos.
Yeah, chaos. Yeah, exactly. Like you got Helmut, who doesn't have his axe, so he's just grabbing whatever he can, right? Just like they get taken by surprise here. So, and I mean, what issue 32? This is what the first issue is, 33 or 32?
32, I think it's 32 to 44.
Yeah, this issue is balls to the walls action all the way through. And like Johnny was saying, I love that one that splash page of the courtyard
We'll
where
get
they're
to
running around. Yeah, it's great, man. That courtyard where they're all running around. You got like, and that embodies like, you look at that picture, and that's like, that embodies like the chaos of what's going on in this issue. That one splash page where they're running down the stairs and everything in the courtyard with all the people, all the action, all the chaos. Like, I mean, I love it. It's great.
And I think we said it previously that you get a real sense of movement in the scenes. It doesn't feel like static art. Like there feels like there is real motion and commotion from panel to panel. I think this sequence of this action sequence, the three concurrent set pieces going side by side or contemporaneously, they are some of the most creative in the series up to this point. Like it's because the art in this is great. Like there is no two ways about it. Who is it? Craig.
Wes Craig.
Yeah. But this is just another level of creativity.
And not only that page I'm talking about, you get that splash page, and then not only that, it gives you like this amazing splash page that embodies the chaos. But then you turn it, and the turn page is a double splash where the chaos is so intense it comes bleeding out. Like it's overwhelming. It's like it's flowing. Like there's just too much chaos, too many people, and it's like just a whole mass of bodies falling through the void, right? Of just this chaos and mayhem that's going on. Like I love this splash page right here is I saw that and I'm like, fuck, man. I stopped reading and I was like, I just got to stare at this for a while and the setup to it, the lead up to it is just perfect. I love this. So good. And
it's almost like it's piercing the page. It's almost like it's coming out at you. Like, oh shit. Calm down, guys. Calm down.
And when I was reading that, it's like I was texting like with Johnny back and forth a little bit and stuff. And like, this is where I get like that. What were we saying? Like that Daredevil when he fights the ninjas, or Wolverine when he fights the is it the Hand? Right, the Hand in the Marvel series where they fight the ninjas and all that. Yeah. It definitely gives me that vibe, like a throwback to like the 80s, 90s, with all the ninjas in the Marvel books, like Daredevil and Wolverine when they go out, and that definitely you get that Frank Miller kind of vibe to it, and feel like I feel like he's channeling his best Frank Miller here for sure.
I think there's a lot of like referential to the way that Kudransky draws as well, especially when it was at Marvel. I can't remember if it was Punisher or Daredevil, where it basically splits a double splash, and it's in, I think, 3 panoramic strips where it has train carriages, and I think either Daredevil or Punisher I think probably Punisher. I don't know. That's not the detail I'm talking about. And you can see him moving through the train from page. It's kind of like a wraparound. Like you can see the legacy of this kind of artwork.
Yeah. And the one thing I took a note on too is fucking Victor with his fanny pack. Like you got this guy just going around kicking ass and shooting people, and he's wearing that goddamn fanny pack, you know, with his little short shorts too. Like. It's just too funny. It makes me fucking laugh. Short shorts with a fanny pack. Oh, clueless. Poor Victor.
I don't know. That sounds pretty sexy to me. don't try and find me on Instagram, Joe. That's all I'll say to that. Yeah. And then, like Johnny was saying, like issue 32, man. It's just them on the run, trying to get away from these Yakuzas. That. Like, what's his name? Who's the double crosser, the triple crosser, or whatever you call him? Juan. Yeah, Juan. So he's getting
Juan.
Juan. Yeah. So like you were saying, he kind of tries to. The damage is done though. He tries to buy himself back by telling them what it's coming, so they can kind of prepare. But I mean, it's too late. Like they're in this shit, right? And then you got Maria. Maria. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's got quite a tragic character arc in this as well. Like it's quite. I won't spoil what's to come, but
going through
this bit again, it kind of makes me feel a little bit more than when I was reading it because he was just a shitbag at this point. But
yeah. He tries to redeem himself, but I mean, he double crossed. He burnt too many bridges, right? Like, there's no way back for him.
And he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because it's not like he has any agency over his decisions because he's being held to account by the accuser guys as well, isn't he? So it's not even like he's making conscious decisions. Like, he's fucked either way.
He's just trying to survive, right? That's
survive. Yeah.
And in the end, like, his conscience gets the better of him, so he warns him, but it's too late, man, dude. You already dug your grave. Either way you do it, your grave is dug, basically, for him. So then we get to Maria in her bikini, just doing the best Wonder Woman she can do, man. Just with that rope, running around, lassoing people, tying them up. Another great splash page. I love this splash page too, where she's just freaking, I don't know. Do you think Remender's like into bondage, and so he wrote this scene in because he's into bondage a little bit, or?
I mean, maybe. I mean,
the ninjas.
I've not heard anybody say that he isn't, so I think we just take it that he is at this point.
Because look at the way the ninjas are dressed, man. It's like punk slash BDM ninjas, right? They got like all they're missing is the ball in their mouth. So.
Who's to say they don't under the costume, Joe?
What's that?
That was an optional extra. If you wanted it, you could have it under the mask.
And this leads to a great scene, eh, Johnny? The scene coming up with Victor and Marcus, where they get to the docks. Yeah. This issue finishes. Yeah, with Marcus. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Basically, Marcus and Brandy and Victor, they all decide to work together to get out of there because there's just too many people to try to fight. And Brandy's still bleeding out because she got just straight shanked in the stomach. So so they're kind of discussing leaving her behind. Victor's like, "You go get help. We'll lead them away." So yeah, like they're on the water and they're like jumping from boat to boat and like decapitating ninjas. It's really groovy. And then they finally get to where it's just the two of them. And like it's like superhero shit, man. Like you got
that last panel. Yeah, that last panel's awesome. Love
it's
it.
like a freeze frame at the end of a Fast and Furious, isn't it? I know that's probably not the comparison anyone wants to hear, but like the Rock in Vin Diesel going to each other.
See, I was thinking more like that. Really, the only good scene in BVS when Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck were finally going to punch each other, and like it was kind of like freeze and like they'd switch angles. That's kind of like how I'd got some Snyder slow-mo going on.
Rocky is it Rocky 3 or 2 with Apollo?
Yes, with Apollo right at the end where they go yes. All this to say, this fucking volume, the third volume, man, this is just the first issue. It's fireworks, and it's just kicks off the third volume deluxe edition with fireworks, man. It's insane. It's like action-wise, I think it's one of my favorite issues in the series, action-wise, with the splash pages and all that. Like, it's fantastic. The art, the action sequences, the art that Wes Craig draws are beyond reproach. I mean, fantastic. Some of the best. It's perfect.
But it's like Olympic gymnast. I'd give it 9.9 just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. 9.9.
Yeah. So fantastic first issue, the introduction to this third deluxe edition. And then we go to issue 33, and I got to say, I fucking love this cover. The cover for issue 33, where you get the, like, almost like a mirrored image. Like, you just flip it, and it depends, like, you get the two perspectives of each end of the alleyway. I love this cover. It's a great cover.
Like it's painted in blood as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great cover. Yeah.
And this one starts out where we finally get to see what's going on with Saya again, and her brother's got her chained to a bed and basically tells her that, like, tells her basically his plan and everything, and it's like, I'm not cruel, I'm not going to let our mother see your failure. So like he basically shows her that like he killed her mom, and like he's got his machinations going, but we don't know quite what Kenji is up to. And then we flash back to basically federales are closing in on Helmut and Petra like leaves a total chlorine bomb and straight kills these two guys. And you kind of finally see where she's coming from. Like she I'm not gonna say she's delusional, but like she closes off certain things after killing Billy, whereas she only the only thing that's real to her is like saving Helmut, and like the cops that she just killed, she doesn't even register as that like actually being a real event. It didn't happen to her, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we get more really cool, just Marcus fighting Victor, and Marcus is actually holding his own pretty good. Yep. And we kind of start we're going to get a really cool character dump from Victor here in a minute, but like we're not quite there yet.
The good thing as well about that page and the subsequent page as well, not this one, but on the actual page, the two spread, if you look at it, the point of view from the reader is from above, from below, it's from the side, it's focused on different elements. Like on one point we're seeing Victor fly back, at one point you're just seeing a face that's in the wall. And I think again, it's that attention to detail and the sliding POV from the reader's perspective that helps give it that sense of action, the sense of chaos, the chaotic panel to panel. Like, and you're locked into that one because it's so exciting. So you don't have that problem of, oh, I've already seen the next page as I turn it, because you just turn it and you're like, what's happening next? Like, it's that gripping.
Right. And the writing's right there on point too, because like I said, we're getting like kind of a cool character exposition dump from Victor, and like I actually kind of started feeling for him. He's explaining to him like, you know why you guys hate me? Because I try hard. I actually do my schoolwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you guys and like you kind of really kind of start thinking like, yeah, man, fuck Marcus. He's a little bitch, man.
Yeah, like you guys think you're too cool for school, where he's there to actually try to, you know, do the schooling, graduate with, you know, and become like make his parents proud and this and that. And it's like, and they all like ridicule him for making an effort, right? So
yeah, he wants to be that proud Russian soldier. You know what I mean? That's his shit.
Yeah.
And then basically, Zinzali and Tashawi, they're hiding in. Basically, this is just becoming the convergence points for all the Yakuzas, man. So like they're pretty fucked. And basically, she's starting to wig out. She's starting to get possessed again. And Tashawi's asking her like, man, don't do it. And what happened? And you kind of finally find out what her backstory. And basically, she got sold to a warlord, and he trained her from very little to be a killer. But like basically, when she got sold to the warlord, the devil started speaking to her and told her that like her parents and God had forsaken her. So she literally believes that she has a demon inside of her. We kind of start getting like that picture drawn more connected for us.
Yeah. And I love the back flash when he resorts to like the watercolor style. Yeah, I like that choice that they did for the backstories when they do the backflash.
Do you think canonically in universe there is even potential for it to be a natural possession, or do you not think that that's where the intention? You think it's just a kind of like a fail-safe insider when shit hits the fan?
I'm not sure, and I like it for what it is, man. I like the ambiguity of it.
Yeah, it could be like a slight split personality type thing where that personality comes out to protect the more vulnerable girl in her that got left behind by her parents with this person. She creates this persona, this personality to protect the little girl in her, right? Where she can remain innocent even though she commits all these acts. It's not her. It's this personification, this other person that's there to protect her from actually having to face these things and do them, right? So it could be.
I mean, not that I know anything about this, just repeats it because it was in the sort of conversational zeitgeist when Moon Knight was there. But DID, from what was being said at the time, does usually come as a protective thing from childhood trauma. So, I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Interesting. But yeah, this is like my favorite scene with Zinzali, because basically while they're hiding, like the ninjas bring in Brandy bleeding and like they're just gonna snuff her, and Tashawi's like, yo, they're gonna kill Brandy, what do we do? Zinzali just looks at him, we let them. Like kill Brandy, get rid of her already, we let them.
Yeah, and that's how the issue 33 closes out. And we get back to Maria and Quan, and like Maria, she's all decked out. She's got her shit ready. They just snuff some fools, and she's like finally asking the question, like,
man, how did Victor know we were here? How did them Kuroki's know your name? You're a little bitch, Quan, and like basically you're gonna have to live with that. And like we get a kind of neat scene with him where you think that he's gonna do the heroic thing. He lets Maria escape, but when the ninjas get to him, he's just like, "Oh, I'm with you guys," like usual.
But, yeah, and that little panel, I don't know if you have it, where Maria's talking to him. She's ready to kill him, like snuff him out, and he's like, "Please, no." The next page, she's like, and there's just that little detail where she has a tear coming down. She's so like filled with rage and anger that she's crying. And you get that little Maria has a little tear going down because she's so angry and betrayed, right? And it's just these little touches in the art that I think add so much weight to all the events surrounding them, right? And grounds it quite a bit where it's just so overwhelming, and she's just overwhelmed with emotion that she's crying even though she's not, just from rage, you know. And I love it. Yeah. Then you turn it and it's like barrage of like just the Yakuza's just fucking emptying clips into this little Kaza, right? It's crazy.
And then man, I hate her, but like Brandy's kind of a badass little bitch, man. Like these guys are about to snuff her. She's stabbed in the belly, and she starts wiping out Yakuza's, kind of opening a door for Tashawi and Zinzali to start fighting. And like basically, like of course Zinzali and Brandy got beef, so they start fighting. And like Tashawi goes to try to save her, gets 3 of his fingers taken off, man. Pretty little dude.
Oh yeah.
The funny thing about this whole thing is these kids have been sent to the like academy or whatever it's called, and like because they are the most prodigious young potential assassins in the world, but then the same people that have sent them there are then sending less adequate gangs of people to try and kill them. It's kind of like, well, why did you send them there in the first place if it was not to give them complete superiority over any foe that you could possibly send?
Well, because they thought maybe they could control them, right? So then when they step out of line and you don't have that control of them anymore.
Well, they were wrong, Joe. They can't control them. If you read this story, we're on the 3rd Deluxe edition. And that's the one thing that I'm clear of. There was no controlling these kids.
How could you? We've all been teenagers, right? This is the how do you control a teenager? You can't. The hormones are raging, and like, you know how it is. The first time you experience everything, it's just that much more intense because you have you have no gauge, you have no previous comparison to it. So everything that's happening to you is happening to you for the first time. So it's that much more intense. You have no way of coping with it because you've never experienced it before. So you don't know how to handle it, how to cope with it, how to deal with it. So these are all, like, we forget, these are teenagers, right? Dealing with emotions, betrayal. So I mean, they just, you know. I think that's one thing we got to remember. These are all teenagers in this. These aren't like full-grown, mature adults. Like their brains aren't fully formed yet, and you're asking them to go out and become killing machines, right? So that's bound to become a disaster.
Oh, trust me, I kept on telling myself that they were teenagers when Maria was fighting in the bikini. For fuck's sake! Write it down if you can't remember. Write it down.
Anyway, yeah. Yeah.
So Tashawi and Zanzali get away, and basically they get picked up by Helmut and Petra in a truck. So like they're gonna try to make it to the border. They got to meet Marcus and Maria. They have a meeting point like close to the border, and they're gonna try to hop across together. So basically, we still just have Marcus fighting Victor at this point. And Victor's drowning him. He's basically got Marcus killed, but Maria shows up, wrecks Victor's shit like always, man. She's basically a powerhouse, man. She just shows up and wrecks people like the from now on. Like if Maria shows up like in a fight scene, she just basically conquers.
I think aside from Saya, I think Maria is the most instinctual fighter, right? She doesn't think, she just completely adapts to the situation and reacts to it, right? Like she never thinks. Once she's in that mode, like she puts on her makeup. It's kind of like another persona, right? Like if you see Maria, if you run into this girl and she's got makeup on, you better be pissing or shitting your pants, because the next breath you take is probably the last one you're ever gonna take. Because when she's got that makeup on, she means business. And you know, I think she's probably one of the her and Sai are the two biggest badasses in this book, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, straight up. She gives Marcus a gun, and Marcus does the normal thing where he's going to try to smoke Victor. Victor, he talks some shit, and he's right, man. He's like, "Oh, like you're going to kill me, and you didn't even beat me up, man. You're a pussy." And Willie shows up and kind of basically tells him he's right, and like he kind of Willie's ghost kind of has a really cute talk with Victor, and Victor is still talking shit, kind of, and he basically tells Marcus that Petra killed Billy, which Marcus didn't know. He was running for his life at the time, so that was kind of a big thing that happens, and like he kind of wigs out, and the issue ends with us thinking that Marcus killed Victor.
Yeah, that big final page, splash page, bang, with the ocean. A beautiful page, man. Like the simplicity in it is what makes it beautiful, with the big bang and with the angle. Like it's not just like on an angle, it just adds, motion and stuff. Love that final page. Yeah, that leaves you on a little cliffhanger there.
And we come back, and it's kind of what we thought. Marcus doesn't do it. He feels sorry for Victor. He gives him this kind of really neat spiel about like how they were both trained by old men to fight their wars for him, and then like neither of them like really had a stake in the fight. And I don't know. You can kind of tell that Marcus never really hated Victor to begin with. You know what I mean? There were just Victor's just kind of a douche. So
yeah,
I kind of really like this part of the story.
It shows Marcus is finally coming in, like growing a little bit as a person, like emotional maturity. Like we said, he's a bit of a prick, throughout the stories, throughout the first 2 volumes. He does his prickish things, but you see a growth in his character.
He never stops being a little bitch, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. So this is actually a huge step forward in his character's growth, right? Because the old Marcus, before he left the school and was with Maria, I think that step away from everything and like kind of being able to process, taking time away and taking a minute and processing all the shit that's happened to him over the first 2 volumes of these books gave him a lot more clarity, right? And like these conversations he has with Willie, like imagine Willie or Billy, or it helps him process all these things. It makes him realize, like, fuck, this is fucked. We're acting like fucking maniacs, lunatics, right? so he's able to take a step back and really evaluate his life. And I think this scene, like you said, Johnny, really illustrates that, to what point he's come to a realization in his life that, it's fucked.
I think that's one of the key things about this deluxe hardcover, is that almost all the characters either have some kind of devolution or evolution in the characters. We either we know that the shitbags, maybe we could be a bit more sympathetic with them, and some of the central protagonists, in actual fact, maybe they aren't quite so perfect. So there is like I said, an ongoing evolution or devolution for each of the main players.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's what makes the story so intriguing to read from issue to issue, right? Yeah, compelling. Yeah, exactly.
And this scene always cracks me up. So basically, they're Petra, Helmut, Zinzelli, and Tashawi are in the truck. Zinzelli's telling Tashawi, "We'll get you to a clinic where they could take care of your hand." And he's like, "Oh yeah, could they grow me some new fucking fingers?" And then all of a sudden, like Petra and Helmut see something in the road. Man, I just love the motherfucker, and it's Brandy, dude. And she's just chilling with the machine gun in the middle of the road. God damn, this bitch is the Terminator. And
it's like those horror movies where that fucking like that one person or whatever, she's like a Terminator, like you said, just doesn't die, like just keeps coming back. Like in Terminator 2, the liquid one there that just fucking like just keeps coming back. Yeah. T-1000, is that it? Or T-3000? So, yeah. That's what she is, man. She's that's what she is in this book. It's just insane. Like Johnny said, she's just fuck, you can't kill her. It's insane. She's made it like fuck. Yeah, a great scene though. Like in her facial expressions, she's a true villain though, I think. Like this is the one person that's a true villain in this book, where I don't think she ever has a redeeming arc. Like she plays she plays the part from start to finish, the villain, right?
I guess she's kind of nice to Shabnab, and a little bit later in the book, we'll cover that when we get to it. That's the nicest thing I think fucking Brandy ever does.
In actual fact, it accelerates, if anything.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So then you get a standoff with Petra, right? That's where we're at, the standoff with Petra and Brandy.
Yeah, the truck's wrecked. Petra and Brandy's fighting. Marcus and Maria finally get there, and the cops are right behind them. So the federales are right behind them. And so Marcus and Petra kind of get away from the truck wreck, and they're hiding from the cops. When Brandy, just like the Terminator she is, pops out of nowhere, totally wrecks Marcus's shit, knocks him out, and she gets her payback from what Petra did to her throat in book 2. And yeah, dude, basically Petra bleeds out in front of Helmut. And dude, out of all the things that Marcus has done, and he's a shitty little bitch about, like, this is one thing that I honestly thought that was out of his control. I don't think that he could have gotten up and did anything to save Petra. Do you guys feel that he could have?
I think he could have. I think in the context of everything that we've read, let's put it this way. Let's pose the question in a different way. Had he have saved her, do you think that would have been jumping the shark?
No, because
it's it would have made perfect narrative sense for him to have done it or not. And in actual fact, because Petra's been of what she's done in the previous volumes, I wasn't that fussed about this one. I was kind of like, you probably had it coming. Like, yeah, okay, accept that.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll give Marcus like the benefit of the doubt. He might have been able to get back up, but would it have changed anything? Right? Like, I think the damage had been done. He could have maybe, I don't think he could have saved her, even if he got up. I think the damage was done, and he was just like, fuck it. Like,
I mean, there's big repercussions of it to come. So I think it.
Yeah, this is definitely this is definitely a key moment for Helmut as a character. This is a turning point for Helmut's character.
But in Petra's point of view, she died thinking that Marcus forgave her. He did tell her that she was forgiven, and I think that she maybe actually believed him. So I think for her peace of mind in her last moments, I don't think that she looked over at Marcus bleeding there, thinking like, "Oh, this guy's just letting me die." I think that she.
I think he was sincere. I think he was sincere. He wants to, like we were saying, he wants to move on. Like I said, he's had time to reflect on all the past and all that shit. And not unlike him, she's a victim of that place as well. Like, if she hadn't gone to King's Landing, would she have even done that? Would she have been able to do that to Billy? Maybe, because we find out her father and her past and how fucked up it is. So maybe she would have still been capable, but not unlike him, went to King's Landing. And when that school gets its claws into you, it changes a person. So I think he genuinely forgave her because he's coming from a similar point, right? Where she was a rat, so was he. You did what you had to survive back then because it was such a chaotic, like, they were on the run, right? So like he's done shitty things and he knows it. So
dude, I love a good reason to hate Marcus. Like, he is probably one of the most contemptible main characters that like I half-ass adore, and I completely am not mad at him at all in this.
No, not one bit.
Like I think Helmut like blows this way out of proportion.
Yeah, Billy's the punk rock kid from one of the punk rock kids from the first book. Yeah, he meets Demise. He gets poisoned by chloroform bomb or whatever that Petra locks him in the bathroom with.
Yeah. And it was sneaky as well, wasn't it? It was sneaky.
It was. I think that's what makes it. Yeah. It was premeditated. It wasn't like at the moment. It took planning and
exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's why too. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Matt. Like, her death kind of felt justified. Like, I mean, she was on a redemption arc, right? So she was trying to come back into good graces. But sometimes some actions from your past are just too overwhelmingly like just despicable that you just cannot come back from it. And I think maybe, you know, like she burnt a lot of bridges too. Like, we've learned, don't fuck with Brandy. Brandy does not forgive. So when she fucked with Brandy, she sealed her fate right there. Like, that's it. You might as well get your gravestone, write your epitaph, because it's coming, motherfucker. You cross Brandy. Yeah. Don't fuck with cheerleaders, man. Yeah.
So
All
somehow our team's able to get away. They are on the reservation with the Shawi's family, and basically they buried
Petra.
Petra in the desert.
The desert.
And you get this really kind of weird scene between between Helmut and Marcus finally burying the hatchet, where he's basically telling him, dude, like, I was knocked out, I couldn't, maybe not, like, shut up, Helmut, man. I really liked his character until here. Like, this is like the one thing that kind of ticked me off a little bit about this book is, like, I think that he wrote all of a sudden, like, the most forgiving and loving character that the book ever saw into, like, the most closed-minded jerk in like 2 seconds, and it didn't really make too much sense to me.
Yeah, he goes emo hard.
I think
emo hard.
From this point onwards, I have problems with his character and the characterization of it, because there's too many hard turns and the positioning in the story of that as well. I think the only forgiving factor is that Helmut is new to this. Where if you think of like Saya and Petra and Marcus et al., that they've been on this big journey and they've got used to the double crossing and the changing of allegiances and the killing and, you know, being under instruction and agency and free will and all that sort of thing. Where this is almost kind of like his first rodeo. This is the first time he's encountered what this group really is and what they've had to do in the past. So maybe this is kind of a reflection of how somebody that hasn't been so well versed in the violence and murder, that they might react a little bit more naturally, which, I mean, this is how most people would react, isn't it? Like, out of context.
Yeah. Some people just, you know, just look at people when things happen.
And he's dealing with death as well. Like, death is like an emotional concussion. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not how you behave. It's like it's a very what's, like, if there was a word that's opposite of evocative. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that's in that sort of like wheelhouse.
And people often react irrationally when they're grieving, right? To certain situations and stuff. So,
plus, let's not forget, Marcus could have let her die. Like, that is an option that's on the table.
Yeah.
Like,
he wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was there except for him and Brandy. Yeah. So the only other person that could tell you what happened is Brandy.
Yeah, so, exactly.
And Marcus has been known to be a prick in the past and lie. So who knows? Maybe he said he got knocked, like, which he did, but they don't know if that's true or not.
And of all the things that he's been, a liar is probably the worst, Joe.
So it finishes with Helmut having a grudge against Marcus for Petra's death.
And then after this, this trade, they took like a 9-month break, which like was mind shattering. Like, it was pretty brutal. Like, and that explains why the book, it like kind of really re-explains everything in the next issue.
Okay.
That's why they have
to hear that.
The trip, the peyote trip.
The peyote trip, I don't think it's as fun as the acid one, but it's a lot better drawn. Like, I love like his the way Marcus is transformed into a rat and then like a snake dude. Like, man, Wes Craig really fucking shines in this issue, man. He does like the kaleidoscopic panels way more. Like, it is a beautiful issue, but it's not as fun as the issue.
I would go and say, like, it was necessarily prophetic for Marcus, but it really started to feel labored about half the way through. I was like, I kind of feel like you've made your point here. Like, yeah. But I mean, the art was beautiful to look at. But yeah, it felt labored to me.
I like certain
there's one.
Like when he's talking to the friends
Yeah.
and they're like climbing into the coffin one by one. I thought that was really coolly done.
Yeah, that was great.
But after that, they should have caught up to normal times instead of like trying to reintroduce the characters again. But like I like that how it foretold how Helmut was going to do what he does a little bit. But the Zenzali thing, I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't see her judging Maria like that. Like there are other parts of it where I'm kind of like, what are you trying to say here, pal? But basically it ends in a really cool way. Like he gets you find out that Marcus is on peyote and he wandered away from the group, so he was having like a dangerous trip by himself. Tashawi comes and rescues him, and like Marcus is able to catch the snake. And like I love that line, like, how were you able to see it? And he's like, I don't even want to tell you why, because like basically Marcus has to realize that he really is just a vermin. He can speak to him and he can commune with them and know when they're sneaking up on him. And I thought that was a really neat thing that for Rick Remender to put in it. That like Marcus is a fucking snake, man. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. But basically, like he's made up his mind. They're going back to keep.
Sorry. There was that one quote in there that I liked from like in the trip early on where he's like, I'd rather be an honest asshole than a beloved liar, when he starts talking about like the whole thing, how what is it, to become the valedictorian or whatever, how everyone just puts on a fake front just to become popular and stuff. And that there was that quote in there where, and I think that kind of reflects on just everything, social media, you know, where people just, they're so fucking fake just to try to get, you know. And I thought that was a great quote that I think a lot of people could learn from, you know. You know, sometimes
the duplicity of it. Like you can be trying to help somebody, but then all they do is talk shit about you behind your back.
Yeah, and you're being honest, like you're giving an honest opinion, whereas someone else might tell you what you want to hear, but then talk shit about you behind your back, right? So
you
know,
exactly.
I wonder who you guys are talking about.
I don't know, man. I'm just talking about the comic. I'm just talking about the comic. I'm not this. You know, the only way that this is referential.
But that was a quote I loved. I love that, and I think a lot of people should use that as advice in their everyday lives, just in general. Yeah, that's issue 36.
Because it's like another, because my cousin was starting to make music and he got all these keyboards and the bibbidi boot boxes for the samples and all that, and he sent me a song, and I said, do you want me to tell you, is it cool that you've made a song from nothing? A lot like when we first did the podcast, I was sending it to people and I was saying, look, I need to know if this is any good or not, because like I don't want to waste my time, and two, I don't want to make, well, I intentionally make a fool of myself, but being unintentionally a fool is much, much worse. So I said to my cousin, I said, are you asking me because is it cool that you've made this, or are you asking me, is the song any good? And he goes, is the song any good? I went, no, mate, it's really bad. But 6 months later, he uploaded something to Instagram and it was all killer. And me and my other cousin were like, fucking hell, have you heard Jared's new track? And he was like, yeah, it's proper good, isn't it? But then when I told him, it was actually worth something.
Yeah.
As opposed to everybody else saying it, but telling him that it was brilliant. Like, okay, there we go. I think we covered our backs there, Joe.
Yeah. Anyway, this is 53 minutes in, so fuck it. They have to listen to 53 minutes of this episode to get that reference, and
yeah, exactly.
The artist is Wes Craig.
Imagine if that's who my Brussels listener is with the VPN. No. To be fair, though, long may it continue. Sorry, gentlemen, please do continue.
Issue 37. So we go back to Japan, right, Johnny?
Yeah, and basically, we see that Kinji, he's celebrating. He's rented out a brothel because he's finally going to take over the gang. He's going to kill Seiya. So like he's going to have like this wild drug orgy while his boy goes and gets Seiya ready. Quan kind of overhears this, and like they've cut some of his fingers off and made him like a waiter. They just beat the hell out of him, basically. Kind of deserves it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he hears what they're up to, and he goes and gets Seiya out of her cell before anything bad happens. But she's not leaving without her sword. She's like, dude. And she basically tells him, you got to go in there and get it because I don't feel like fighting no motherfuckers. So Quan has to do what he does best and be a sneaky little dick. And he basically has to dress up as like one of the weird Guardians of the Galaxy robot hookers that so he's got this weird outfit on, and like there's this Yakuza that's hella drawn to him, and like he's like macking on him and stuff. It's really great. But he's able to get the sword, and Quan actually gets like a pretty cool action scene, man. He cuts out one of Kinji's eyes, and like he gets on the motorcycle, and him and Seiya, they're zipping through the city, and she's telling him how to be a badass on the motorcycle, and like
I love that the black and white, like the reverse, the negative, that shot, and how it's transparent, so you get the action coming through it, like the explosions. Oh, so well done. Wes Craig just kills that panel. I love that panel. It's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
And so Quan's got a storage boat that's leaving Japan. He's got to get Seiya on it so she can get him back to San Francisco. And they make it. They get there on time. And he's telling her he's not going to go back to King's Dominion. He's going to go back to Hanoi and try to make a life for himself in Vietnam. He's like, do you think a person can change their life? And she's like, yeah, I really think a person can. And then Shank, but not you. And I love this. I have a great memory of this because like I am out of nowhere. Joe texted me and he's just like, huh, so Quan's dead now, huh? And I'm just like, yup, you got there, did you?
Yeah, he's not coming back because
I felt really sorry for him.
He's a tragic character from the start because he has
he was trapped by circumstance, and and then he's there without his fingers. He didn't have fingers, Johnny. He had two fingers.
But these are all
these are
all choices he's made. It's like pick your poison, right? Either
could he really have, like, because he would have been murdered.
He could have been like, but in the end, do you want to die a graceful death or a dishonorable death? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think he makes that choice because, like, they can't all be like strong of will. What's this saying? Yeah. You can want what you will, but you can't will what you will. Do you know what I mean? So, like, he can't help being weak of nature. He was just making the best of a bad situation. He was just trying to keep himself alive. I felt for him. I think you're both heartless. I don't think
I felt bad at the end of the issue. I thought he had a really cool. I was like, oh, cool, he's getting this like redemption, and like, no, it's Shank. I felt a little bad, but it's right there with Petra, like how you guys were saying, how you're kind of when it got to it's like, they could have brought the character up some, but like I don't know. Like
issue 37, man, love that cover. Fucking love that cover of Seiya. Awesome cover. There's some great covers for this series, I gotta say. And one thing I have to say about Quan's death is I love that into the abyss. Like as he's sinking into the ocean, and he just becomes that speck as he goes deeper down. And that's where I'm like, he's not coming back. This isn't going to be like the Marcus that gets stabbed and comes back. He's gone. The ocean swallowed him, you know.
Did he have anybody that cared about him, or was he always just a plant? Like, was he like residual the whole time? Or?
Maybe that Yakuza's daughter that he knocked up liked him.
Oh yeah. That was the reason why. Thank you.
Yeah, but we never really got a full-fleshed backstory like Rick Remender does, like with a lot of these characters, where they give him a pretty good flashback, but he never got that flashback to really build the sympathy up, like you said. You know, like maybe if we got like a little 2 or 3 page flashback, we could have been like, oh shit, that sucks that he died now. But we didn't have that same emotional connection to Quan as we do a lot of the other characters, because we gave them these flashbacks of when they were more innocent and what led to them to end up at King's Landing. It was just kind of mentioned in passing for Quan, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing was, it was almost like a Batman Killing Joke type thing. He told Maria so many different stories of his origin. Was the last one that he told about his mom being a GI nurse and his dad being a VC, like actually legit. You know what I mean? By that point, he'd told her 4 stories. You know what I mean?
Well, I felt sad enough without it, so I'm good.
Oh, no problem, Phoenix, man.
Hey, we appreciate.
Yeah, dude, you're learning about one of the greatest comics ever. I hope maybe you'll go and check this book out because it is so much fun. In a weird way, I'd almost urge you not to finish the video because we are going to spoil this. You know what I mean? We're going to tell you how it ends. So, if you want to read it and get into it, you might want to earmuff it. You know what I mean?
Analytic-wise, I think you count as a view already, so you can stop watching it if you want.
Retention, Joe. Retention.
Oh, okay.
Retention.
I don't follow any of those things. So.
Just turn the volume down and put it to one side, mate. Go and read a comic. Just leave it on. we have a video which we can't understand why it's not got more, because we get between maybe 50 and 200 to 300 is standard, and we've got one for a comedy called Bottoms, which is fucking great, and it's on 10. And I said to Tim, I was like, Tim, I don't understand it. It's not getting suggested anywhere. I said, we've got 10 and 7 of them were me on different Google accounts. And he started laughing. He was like, dude, the other 3 were me. That wasn't a good Tim. I didn't do a good Tim there. I've done him an injustice. Tim's my co-host, by the way.
I'm terribly sorry about that, Phoenix. I'm a 90s person. I kind of call everybody dude.
Yeah, I think dude is non-gender specific. I think nowadays. So dude, yeah.
Like dude, it's like the royal dude. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I honestly didn't mean anything by it. But thank you for watching. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great book, man. So definitely highly recommend it. If you enjoy us talking about it, just imagine if you went and read it, because it's quite the experience. Yeah. So.
Without a pointless Englishman in your ear the whole time.
All right, man. So issue 38, dude. What's up?
Let's go.
So we're back at King's, and Shabnab is being a douche like usual. And all of a sudden there's a big hup-de-doo going on. There's a big commotion.
Yeah.
And he runs out and sees the most terrifying thing he could imagine. Marcus and Maria mobbing the hallways like true gangsters, man. It's
the rising of the Phoenix. Sorry, I had to do it.
and we get some more. We get some more just wonderful. I love the way this issue is drawn, with the way they do the them walking around the school with Lynn. Oh, dude, the stair panels are just gorgeous. Oh my God, Wes Craig, you kill me, buddy.
But it's so good. Does that remind you a little bit of Squid Game?
Reminds me of John Cassidy's art. He's the first guy I saw draw the people walking down the stairway when he was doing Astonishing X-Men, and when he was drawing Avengers with Mark Malarkey.
Yeah, it's funny with Cassidy on that title. I couldn't see what the fuss was about in the first 10 issues, but you could really see a master of the art becoming that during the issues. By the end of it, it was just outstanding. But you could really see him learning on the job, sort of thing.
But they come back to school. They pass Lynn's little quiz, and they're due to all the badass stuff that they've done while they're away from the school that Lynn knows about, they're in contention to be valedictorian. They just have to study really hard now that they're back in school. And he gives them new sleeping assignments, and he puts Maria in a room with this really suave guy named
Lorenzo. Is that it?
No, it's Stefano.
Okay.
Stefano.
I hate this guy.
I love Marcus's face. Huh? You're always up to some shit, aren't you? To Master Lin, and Master Lin's like, "Hey, watch who you're talking to." But I love Marcus. He's like, "Huh? You're always up to some shit, aren't you?" But yeah, Stefano's a douche, man. Like he is a.
I don't like this guy.
I think I liked Chico better than Stefano.
Yeah.
At least he put it on the. You knew where you stood with Chico, didn't you?
Yeah.
You knew
He
where
was
you
up
stood.
on the front. Yeah.
It's like when you got a new. Well, let's not go into details. It's what people will find out. But let's just say, has anyone dropped a C-bomb on this before?
Oh yeah. Plenty.
Yeah,
Plenty.
yeah. This guy's a proper cunt. That's what he is.
Yeah, we covered we covered Piss and Apocalypse, so yeah, the C word got dropped quite a bit. Yeah. And speaking of Chico, there's that one scene in The Office with Lynn where he hands Maria the coin, where she's in charge now of the Mexican mafia or whatever. And I love the way the background where you have the hand of Chico in the background extended out, kind of like the passing of the torch to Maria, right? I love that scene. I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah.
Was that written by an Englishman, Joe?
What's that?
Or a Scot? What did you call it? The episode with the swearing in it.
Oh, he's Canadian. He's from Toronto.
Oh, is he really? That's surprising.
Oh yeah, Piss and Apocalypse, man. I'll hook you up, man, and you'll see. What was it, Johnny? The word cunt was used 52 times in that book.
Yeah.
Probably something like that.
Probably like the same amount of times it was said in like an episode of Misfits, pretty much.
Great show. Great show. That's a British superhero show. Fantastic. If people watching haven't seen that, go find it. Queue it up on the streaming service and go watch Misfits. A fantastic series. Fantastic.
Has Joseph Gilgan from Preacher, and it has
Bob Sheehan from he was
Game of Thrones.
Umbrella Academy. Oh, what's his name? Yeah, the guy that played Ramsay Snow in he was Simon in.
Yep. Oh, so great cast. Great cast. Fantastic
really
show.
Good cast. Yeah.
Marcus gets a new roommate too. He's this Australian guy named Sam. He's a surfer. He's a great character, man. He just gets ignored.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Tashawi level character.
Less douchey though, less asshole. Like he's just a really chill, nice guy. Whereas Tashawi had a little bit of an edge to him where he was prickish to everyone. Where this guy's just a nice fellow, right?
And then I love this big reveal, like hitting the school, you know, the first day back, putting the tie on. And Marcus, he's wondering what the hallways are going to be like. And he's popular, man. The cheerleaders are hitting on him. Everybody's telling him he's hardcore and he's metal. And, like, he ain't used to it. So he goes straight out, basically, to the graveyard. And he's talking to his ghosts. And he gets confronted by Shabnab, Brandy, and Grogada, or however you say her name. And I love Grogda tries to talk some shit to Maria, and Maria, like usual, just wrecks her, man. In one motion, just drops her ass. And basically, like they get told by Marcus and Maria that like their days are numbered, man. They're getting taken down. And then we get my favorite sequence. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just saying again though, like just what I advise Shabnam, get the first 2 deluxe oversized hardcovers of the comic and then work out what he's fucking with eventually. Because this guy, how many times can you lose to somebody before you go, meh?
Yeah. But the next issue, it opens to one of my favorite scenes. It opens to the Castro district in San Francisco. 2 homosexuals running for the lives, where one of my favorite characters, Steven, steps out, and he's says my favorite line ever. He's defending him. He's like, "Hey, I'm like the gay Batman, so pretty much I'm just Batman." And like
Midnighter.
And he just totally wastes these 2 homophobes, man. It's great. And he basically gets told that like he's going too far though, and like if he's gonna kill the guys, like don't do it in our name, man. Like you got your own problems to work out. I really like that scene, but like this is where Steven kind of really becomes a really cool character, in my opinion. Like, I've always liked him, but like I like his turn in this arc very well.
I was very grateful for this single flashback panel, though, just to bring me back up to speed, because I was like, "Oh, right, yeah. This is who we're dealing with today."
There's one little thing that as we were doing it, I forget if we touched on it. Is Victor comes at the end when they're escaping, and where was it? Where he kind of starts like with his sniper rifle taking people out, so the whole crew can escape. After like Marcus doesn't kill him, so he has a bit of a turn where he kind of helps them out instead of trying to. So that's why in this issue I was really curious, how was Victor going to act once they were back at school? Like, and he just plays the part that he was before, right? Not letting people know that maybe he's turned over a new leaf, right? He's still. Yeah.
A thing about that scene, though, is like he was also saving Brandy, and he is boinking Brandy.
I just felt with that, I felt like Victor was starting on his journey. Like, maybe this is where they all come together to make one group because there's this machination what's going to happen at, what's it called, the school, the academy, what's it called? King's Landing.
King's Dominion. King's Landing.
Dominion.
King's Landing, Game of Thrones, dog.
And
Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted one little conversation between him and Marcus, like, what do you expect? We're back at school now. But a kind of like, we've got each other's back. Don't worry, I'll handle things on my side. But that kind of, I was just like, oh Victor, not like this. And in actual fact, I was so glad when it did go back to King's
Dominion.
King's Dominion. That's King's Dominion. Honestly, I've got early onset dementia, I'm sure of it. And because it was a necessary sort of after the furious action of the first act of this part. I just thought, oh, thank goodness for that, because it started to feel like not obligatory, but it felt relentless, and I was kind of like, Jesus, how are you going to keep putting these like cross city like huge set pieces one after the other? And I was so comfortable that they allowed us to exhale for a little bit and just went back into the politicking of a high school, really. So yeah, this section was one of my, I would maybe not favorite, but I felt like I'd earned this respite at this stage.
With the big action sets, do you think that like Rick kept drawing him out and out to see how far he could get Wes to go, like what all he could get out of him? You know what I mean? At some point, I think that's what like some of his action scenes were, to see like how far he could push Wes.
Yeah, possibly.
Can you think of any other stories that have that kind of unrelenting action? The only thing that sprang to mind was maybe the early Walking Dead at the sort of like the prison and maybe around the all-out war. Like, this is quite unfamiliar, really, to have the patience and also the fortitude to be able to say, no, this issue, it's just set piece.
It's other Remender stuff. Like, I would totally say his Uncanny Avengers, like once you got into like the Apocalypse twin shit, like it did not let up until after that arc was done, and that arc was like 4 or 5 trades long, so it was a beast to get through.
Orphan and the Five Beasts is very action heavy, very action packed. That's James Stokoe. That one I'd say, but that's only a 5-issue arc. Like the second story hasn't hit yet, but that's another one that was like very high pace, action packed. There's a lot out there, but like you said, relentless over like the space of like a 50-issue run. That's something. Yeah.
I've got a little anecdote about Rick Remender after Uncanny Avengers, if you want to hear it. When we spoke to Dennis Hopeless, we interviewed him about a year ago. If we've got time,
okay,
we'll come back to it again. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So basically, because I always, like, me and Tim always say when we interview creators, like, I don't want to do like the standard, how did you get into comics, who would you like to write, and all that sort of thing. I'm pretty like hardcore with research, so I'll go through most of the podcasts they've already done, and I'll pick up little snippets. And I said to him, like, one of the first, well, I won't get into muddies, but the point was, we said, like, you're really good, but that whole X-Men run, there was you, there was Cullen Bunn, and there was Jeff Lemire. Like you three guys, well, I won't say which, but like one of you is close to the top 10 and the other two are definitely in it. Why did that seem so rushed? And why did it seem like it is so out of character for all three of those creatives? And he basically said, well, we had a big name writer that left the company quite abruptly. And he said like a superstar that was going to take over the X line, a lot like Hickman did. And I was like, to Tim, I was like, so it's Remender then, isn't it? And he was like, well, I can't say. I was like, okay, so not Remender, but it's Remender. And he said what they basically did, they had an event coming up. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Secret Wars, or maybe it was something that was coming afterwards. Maybe it was like an Age of Apocalypse. Anyway, don't matter. The point being that they mandated Remender to write a month to 3 months worth of tie-ins for the next big Marvel event. And he said, that's not the story that I signed up to tell. That isn't the story I'm going to tell. So if you're making me do that, he cancelled his exclusive contract and then just fucked off immediately.
And that's why Remender rules, man.
Yeah, and then Cullen Bunn, Jeff Lemire, and with in mind, like Jeff Lemire at this point, he's done a little bit of DC. He's got 3 ongoing titles at Marvel, and he fucked off not too soon afterwards as well because he felt. Anyway, the point being, they had to come up with a whole line of X-Men comics, so 3 titles over like 2-3 years in the space of 2 weeks, and that's why that was such a. Well, it was the Gold, Blue, and Uncanny. I think there was all new as well. No, it wasn't even Gold and Blue. It was Uncanny, all new X-Men, and then probably just Astonishing X-Men. Yeah, they were the 3. Terrible. So yeah, Remender was supposed to be like this big Hickman presence for the X-Men before.
I'm glad he fucked off. I'm glad he didn't do it.
I just want to give
Sorry, go.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Phoenix to say, I love having you in the chats. And in case you're still there, just thanks for being in the chats. Love having you there. Have a great afternoon.
Well,
yeah.
but
he's just signed exclusive to Image as well, hasn't he? Remender what is it? Giant Generator or something like that?
Giant Reactor, yeah.
Giant Reactor, yeah. He's just signed exclusives, as of a couple of other like big name creators that their names escape me, and that's a real change of course for Image.
He's got a series of 4 books coming out in the next few months.
He's got Holy Roller that just came out this week with him and Andy Samberg. He's got Sacrificers that's on issue 4. Yeah. He's got a new book with Bengal, and then he's got the Skater book with David Posehn. He's got 2 books with.
Well, I think he's effectively acting as the editor for those people. They're taking like the way that Image started, where you had like Top Cow, Wildstorm, etc., and they're actually bringing creators in to be sort of to have their own publishing thing with writers coming in that are only being distributed through Image. So it's a really interesting time.
He's actually making Giant Reactor like into a proper imprint where it was just like he was just like using it to publish his own stuff. Now he's actually going to do other people's books too.
Yeah.
I wonder if he and Posehn kind of developed the relationship from the show.
Probably. They were at Marvel at the same time too. Posehn was writing with Gary Dugan, which was a really fun book. So I bet
Which book was that? Which book was that, Johnny?
Deadpool.
They wrote that together. Okay.
Gary Dugan.
That was a really good run of Deadpool. I've not read that much, but Jerry Duggan, he also did an Uncanny Avengers run, which Deadpool was the sort of front and center of that team. Both of those titles are really. I mean, All New, All Different was chuck things in the air, see what you can catch. But Jerry Duggan, I think that was almost prime Duggan at that point, before he got sucked into the events machine at Marvel.
There's our 1 episode tangent that we go off on, mandatory tangent. So,
how did we get there?
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what just happened. Now it's exactly why our show is called what it's called now. How'd we get here?
Tim said it in the episode before last and ours. I was like, stop promoting other shows. So I don't know, how do we get here? And I went, Tim, we're struggling with listeners as it is.
Oh shit! All right, man.
But yeah, back to your point though, Matt, about like what we just kind of got through, it was one of the full trades. Like you guys are reading it as a deluxe. When I first read it, like that was a whole trade that was just a big action set piece, and like that's not the first one that we've covered. Like he'll go 2 to 3 trades of just action with this series, and yeah, I don't know how they do it, and it's edge of your seat shit where he escalates it, and each time like it does get better. Each time the payoff is huger. So like Rick is just, he's incredible. But like we're back to like one of his probably funniest scenes, probably since Marcus shit his pants. We're back to Brandy's kindness. So Shabnab, he's kind of bummed out that Marcus is back. And Brandy, she's gonna try to work him. She's gonna get her own way. So she's hitting on him a little bit. She's telling him like Grog that doesn't treat him right, and how he's sexy now that he's got scars, and he's a brave leader. And she, to get her way, she starts giving him a handy under the desk, which is hella fun. Like Grog, Victor, and Steve didn't come in the room, and like he's trying to give them orders, and like basically he's telling Steven and Brandy that they're gonna have to go try to kill Marcus in the lunch hall while he's getting this handy. And like, oh man, when he blows his load, it's so fucking
just even Brandy's face, she's like, whoa, she's taken by surprise too. That's a great, that has such a, I find a manga vibe to it. That one panel, like the way he's screaming and Brandy's face, the way it's drawn, it totally has. And I think they probably made it more kid-like, like funny, just because it's such a like adult type thing, you know. Like, so I think they just to, you know, build on the humor of it. Like it's fantastic. I cracked up laughing when I got to that panel and read it. I loved it. Yeah.
And yeah, this is it, people. This is the only kind of nice thing Brandy ever does.
That's true. That's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we were mentioning before. Probably the only nice thing she's ever done for someone. Poor Shabnab.
And now they're back at school, and like they actually have other people to talk to and have friends and stuff. Maria and Marcus are kind of starting to like have some waves in their relationship. Like she wants to party and have friends again, and Marcus, they came back to Kings for a reason. Like Marcus and Maria, they're motivated. They
have a plan
to do something. And Maria, she's kind of losing sight of that. But this has to do with Christmas. Marcus is being his normal, you know, grinchy self, and like, so she decides to go to a church with Zinzali. Zinzali's trying to get her to go to the mission with her. And this precipitates Steven sitting down with Marcus, you know, setting the stage. Brandy, I love this sequence where she's like running up on him with her razor blade pom-poms, and Helmet's watching, hoping that Marcus gets killed. But Steven just turns around and totally like hits Brandy with the food tray and basically tells Marcus that like he's not going to work for Shabnab no more, and that like, you know, all the best. So like a total victory for them. Meanwhile, Brandy and Steven get put in the ditch, and we get introduced to probably our last new character of the book, Jayla, who is the bitch that Maria could not leave Marcus with, according to herself. And she is all about Marcus for some reason. And she's inviting him to a Christmas party. And I love this dissertation about the word awesome that Marcus gives her. And then she totally doesn't give a shit about it, because he's totally a prick to her about using the word awesome. And she just totally leaves the whole thing about like having a date with him, just saying, okay, awesome. So good. So we jump to Marcus is at the party. He's having a good old time with the homeboys. He's playing dominoes, and Jayla takes him away, and she's gonna try to snuff him, and we find out she's Willie's sister, and she blames Marcus for Willie getting killed. But Marcus tells her that like, I loved your brother, he was my homie, and you're gonna like what I have planned, so you're gonna probably want to be my friend now. And I guess that works. Meanwhile, Zinzelli and Maria, they get to the mission, and Maria's telling Zinzelli that like they might become church buddies together and do missionary work. And Zinzelli's all down for it, but then she tells her that like she was lying to her the whole time, opens the door, and Saya is chilling in the mission waiting for him.
And I almost forgot about their, because it happened so long ago in the story about Maria and Saya's past, right?
The last
so you
time
have that one moment. Yeah, you have that one moment where they're looking at each other and they're like, are they going to fight or what? But then it's like they're just happy to see one another. Yeah, exactly.
Let me just present something to you. There was they look at each other, they're sweating. Saya's got her sword drawn. Maria's got her razor blade fan out. They're running to each other. And then on the next page, before you get a chance to read anything, can you see that? The cover shows them hugging, Joe.
Yeah.
It shows them hugging. Outrageous. Spoiler. They need a big old alarm telling everybody that a spoiler's coming up. Terrible. I felt very disappointed.
Hey, that's not the first time they did that with the covers, man. Like before the big final, they had the all new Deadly Class cover out with Saya sitting there with a bunch of new kids on a pink cover. So yeah. They kind of have a history with that kind of letting the cat out.
This is something I forgot to bring up to you, Johnny, is now in the deluxe edition. The next issue in the deluxe edition is the Killer Set one shot.
It's in the trade, and I also have the one shot. I went to that was one of the few free comic book days I went to just to get it.
Cool. Okay, so I was just making sure that because in the deluxe now in the deluxe is where they inserted the one shot into the deluxe edition.
So Joe, are you here to jam out with the fish boners?
With the what?
With the fish boners?
With the fish bone.
That's how he was saying fish bone. Oh, yeah. So basically,
because they have this in the middle as well. Like in all seriousness, that last page when they're running at each other, to insert this here, it draws out the tension. To have that, like the cover there or whatever it is, the artwork of them like being friendly. I don't know. I'm not making too fine a point of it, but let's just say.
Now you know what it's like to be a Rick Remender fan. That's the shit that this guy does to you on a constant basis. Try reading this like month to month or trade to trade. Like he loves.
Chance.
Yeah, he just loves leaving you hanging, white knuckle riding the rails like Marcus later on.
God, I had to stop myself. Like I said, I read this in 3 parts, and each point, I had to stop myself and go, nope, we'll save some for tomorrow. I've had today's amount of enjoyment, save some enjoyment for tomorrow. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Even at the end of each deluxe edition, I'm like, oh no, I've got to wait another month for the next one. No.
Yeah. But even this one shot, man, it just reinforces that whole scene where Victor's narrating in his head, you know, when he's fighting with Marcus, how like they made fun of him and this and that because he was a serious student. And this one shot just reinforces how they thought he was a dope and not cool enough to hang out with them. Because even though he's there for ulterior reasons, they still treat him like a big dope, a square, you know, like he's not cool. And, you know, so it just reinforces that whole aspect of that sequence from earlier.
This one shot, it's pretty fun, but like it's basically made to try to snare new readers. So like it kind of like explains everything all over again. But basically the gist of it, the kids sneak out, they go to a Fishbone concert. Basically Lex and Billy are supposed to be there too, but they get caught by like one of the guards in the sewer. Really funny scene. But basically it's Maria, Willie, Marcus, and Saya. They're hanging out, and out of nowhere, Victor shows up in the line for the concert, and he's telling them how like he's really into the fish boners, and how they're the biggest band in Russia. And everybody's kind of teasing him, and like usual, and you don't know what he's there for, and like you see he's staring at this car and this guy getting out of it, and they're talking about how weed like makes you relax. So he grabs the joint, and just totally rips it, and coughs. So they end up laughing at him more. And like he just says, fine, I'm gonna go rock out by myself. And you get like a really cool argument between Maria and Marcus about like how dancing and music might be like the thing that actually saves the world. And get really, really cool mosh scenes like this one that Russ Craig drew of the Fishbone concert, the Fishboners. While you just see Victor's carrying out this hit, man. He's just beating the shit out of this dude in the suit. You don't really know why. And meanwhile, Marcus is trying to save this kid in the pit, but Maria comes and gets him, and basically they've just I love the brutality of it, basically. And outside the show, you see Victor, and he looks like he's just like had the time of his life, you know. And like Marcus goes and tries to connect with him like usual, and said like, "Dude, you gotta hang out with us. You don't have." And like he does his normal thing, like, "Oh, you always tell people what you think they want to hear," and like bounces. But like Marcus was kind of being a dick to him still too. So I understand why Victor did what he did, but like at the same time, like it was just foreshadowing what's future coming, but like that Victor and them never had a chance at being closer with one another is kind of
And there's that one little scene where the punk kid's like, I fell and no one picked me up, and he looks back at Marcus, you know, like kind of, I don't know if that's kind of thinking back to the Petra where he didn't really help Petra when he had the chance, or I don't know if that's kind of hinting back to that part.
Well,
so,
that and the first scene where like he goes to the show and moshes for the first time, and Marcus loved how he got knocked down in the pit.
Biggest guy, yeah.
The biggest guy picked him up and ran with him, and Marcus didn't do the same thing. I think.
And Marcus does actually try and find a tender moment with Victor at the end of it, doesn't he? He's like, look, if you took the stick out your ass, then maybe you can hang with us if you want to. But Victor's like, nah, later.
But I think it's the moment too. Victor's kind of, I think it might be his first kill as well. So he's kind of overwhelmed by all the emotions from his first kill too. So like right now he doesn't want to deal with like Marcus's smart ass remarks, and
because and we end up finding out it's a pretty important kill too. It's the spy that got his mom killed when he defected to MI6. So like this was deeply personal to Victor.
Personal, yeah. So then we get back to the main story again with issue 40
in the church, and like Matt said, like Maria and Saya, they hug each other. Meanwhile, they totally, like Joe said, they explained to you like where they left off, and basically where they left off was Saya banged Marcus while they were hooked up with Maria, and Maria almost let Saya get killed by one of Fuckface's guys for it. Like she just stood there and watched, and that was literally the last time they saw each other in years. But basically, Saya tells Maria that like she's the one that told Marcus where to find her, though. So that was her. But their embrace is not long lived because this batch of really cool Yakuza guys jump out of nowhere in the church, and we get
they're fucking relentless, man. Those Yakuza gangs, they're fucking relentless. Like they show up as soon as the Yakuza are introduced, I think they show up in every trade. No, Johnny? From like, let's say you read it by trades, right? So I think they make an appearance in every issue from when the new crew, like Helmet and the whole gang. I think the Yakuzas are in there all the way through after the initial gang are dispersed with the new crew.
This irritated me a little bit because I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, can you just give him a minute? I was like, just give him a minute, just for fuck's sake. Can we just not for a few pages? Like, I think it put me in the shoes of the characters. Like, I understood their frustration at that point. I was like, oh God, not again. Come on.
like they can't enjoy this little moment, right? Like you have to really.
I couldn't enjoy the little moment, Joe. I was enjoying the moment. I was like, just give me this, please.
I like the Zinzelli action, man. Like I always like her fights for some reason, and like you don't get too many of them in the book, so
it's true, yeah.
Plus, like this, where Saya just shanks this dude to the floor and kind of pins Maria under him. I love that sequence. It was, but plus, I think these guys were part of the school, right? Like, cause like Lynn shows up right afterwards, so like these guys, and Lynn doesn't want Saya back. He's basically explaining to Maria and Zinzelli that like she's not part of the school. She screwed me over, so she doesn't have any of my protection. And like I think he was going to kill her no matter what at this moment if Maria doesn't do what Maria does and basically take Saya as her pledge so she can come back to school.
And at this point, I hate the way Lynn's playing it off as this was part of my big like my big plan for all of you. You know, he like everything you do is I foresaw, I planned it. I'm the one who put all this into, you know, to see how you'd react. Everything's like a test that I foresaw for you, and it's like, you old fucking prick. You're just fucking like, because you're losing face. You got to make it sound like you foresaw all this happening, and I don't know. Lynn started annoying me a little bit from this point on. I couldn't wait for him to get his after this.
I've got more to say about him later, Joe. Don't you worry.
It sounds like you're probably on the same page as I am. Yeah.
Well, have you gone back to the one where Maria's in the bikini? If so, then yes, we are.
There you go.
So
now we start a new little journey. Basically, Helmut has decided that he's going to get revenge for Petra, and he's going to go after her dad. But Tashawi doesn't want to let him go by himself. And we get this really kind of funny scene where Helmut's like sneaking out of the school. He's doing like all this stuff. And like he gets to his van, and Tashawi's just there waiting for him. He's like, dude, you know there's a fucking tunnel that leads right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
So they end up going. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I just want to pinpoint this as, okay, not this point specifically, but let's say it's a 9.9 up to this point. This is the first point when I started to question some of the choices that were being made, like this, from this point to the end of this. But we'll get to it. But I just wanted to draw that line before we went into it.
Bookmarked. Bang.
Yeah.
Boom.
So they go up to Sacramento, and this looks pretty legit for Sacramento in the 80s. It's a kind of a neat little church type thing, and there's like, you know, the normal kind of holy rollers, but they get in and like there's this kind of weird, like very cultic looking thing, and like they're asking them to come in, and kind of just becomes like this kind of weird orgy at first.
Yeah.
But then like the swords come out, and you know, blood starts flowing. It kind of like starts reminding me of Berserk a little bit.
Because they just show up though, like they can't. Do they just see it as fresh blood getting them into the? Because their entrance into this, they're not very covert. They're dressed in their normal clothes. They stick out like a sore thumb. This passage just felt a little bit too easy for me, and a little bit like they get in the car, they get there, and then this stuff happens. Do you know what I mean? Like this whole issue felt very complex. Like there was a lot of story that was going on as a precursor to what comes next as well. And just from the very first instance, like they just turn up and they're in the middle of a murder call. Like it's that easy.
I think that Rick like looked at having Helmut as part of the team after he introduced him, and thought that the team was just too OP'd and he didn't know what to do with them. So he kind of tried to ride them out in a way. And I don't think that I agree. This is kind of like the weakest part of the book, but I still kind of enjoyed this. I still enjoyed this little adventure. You know what I mean?
It's still a lot of fun, but we're comparing it to like the 9.9 sort of thing.
Anytime you get to draw some boobies into a book, I appreciate it.
I was about saying, and I think he makes it, he knows what he's doing because he gives us some boobies. So
he's like, I know this part of the book is a little weaker, so I'll just throw some boobs in there.
A little bit of mottage as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically, they cut their way out of there, and on their way out, Tashawi and Helmut are talking about you know, what they're going to do in Kings, and Helmut's telling them how he's not going to go back. And you see kind of this pervy guy behind a Jesus painting listening to him. Who's this guy, I wonder?
Is it
pretty obvious?
Petra's dad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh, right. It was a rhetorical question for the audience. I apologize.
Yeah. Issue 49.
It's Petra's dad. And like, yeah, basically he picks up Helmut and hitchhiking after, and you know, it kind of fades into like that really creepy, eerie pattern that Wes Craig draws on in all the books, and does not bode well for our buddy Helmut. Whereas we jump ahead to back to the school, and they're posing for this year's class portrait when a new student gets brought to Marcus's attention while he's hanging out with Sam, doing his normal "shut up, Sam" thing, and he sees Saya there, and and damn, I think Marcus is unusually cold to Saya, man. I don't know what he really. Why he's like that, man.
I think it's because he wasn't because he had that plan, right? He knew what he wanted to do, and I think he wasn't expecting Saya to show up. So that kind of puts a huge curveball to his plans of what he and Maria were planning on doing. Yeah, and he's not sure how to. He's not like. Does he include her into the plan, or just maybe the best is to leave her in the dark and not, I mean.
Because you know how clandestine Lynn is. So the less people know, the better, sort of thing. Especially somebody that's been used as a bad actor against them in the past.
And I think he's still sore about the whole Willie thing.
Yeah, and also she fucking stabbed him through the chest. Let's not forget that.
But in order to get him out, though.
I mean, yeah, but she was still under the thumb of Lynn at that point, and that kind of feeds into the, we can't tell her this now because who is she really?
Yeah. Well, now she's the rat, basically, is what Lynn tells her. He gives her the pin. And then the next scene, like we see Marcus walking the hallways, getting high fives and stuff, and then get this awkward locker scene where he just kind of completely blows her off like a dick. Kind of reminds me of like when they first got there and she blew him off, but way colder in my opinion.
Can I ask a refresher question? Is her brother currently dead in the story? Or did he live to fight?
Not yet. No.
He comes back, man.
Yeah.
So I won't ask Johnny because Johnny's read this. So Joe, in the way that Maria brought her in as her pledge, if God, my memories we were just if Saya were to kill her brother, would she then become legacy, do you think? And get out of it that way?
I don't think so. Because he's not a mark, he's not part of the school.
But she'd be then the head of the clan sort of thing, wouldn't she? Whereas
she would get some kind of school credit for it, like how Victor did for killing the guy that got his mom. But I don't think it would be enough for her, maybe as a legacy. She'd probably.
I think she'd have to clear out some issues though, because right now she's considered responsible for the father's death, and now Kenji set her up to be the one who was responsible for the mother's death as well, right? He framed her for that. So
he was going to let his henchmen have their way with her as well when she was locked up. What an absolute bastard!
Yeah.
Like he feels evil. Like he's one of the true evil antagonists in comics. Do you know what I mean? Like every time you see him, you are concerned.
Yeah, he's right there with Brandy.
Brandy, that's what I was gonna say. He and Brandy are the two true, pure villains of these stories. Yeah,
and one of them's candid and one of them's clandestine, so they make a good sort of opposite sides of the same coin sort of thing.
And meanwhile, all this is going on. I want to preface that Stefano is winning Mac points with Maria, and Maria and Marcus are drifting farther and farther apart. There's kind of a bunch of arguments that happen that I'm not showing you panels of, but finally Saya gets a hold of Marcus, sits down with him, and she tries to explain to him her plan and what went wrong. And Marcus just is Marcus. You know what I mean? At this point, I hate to say it, but I'm on Team Saya. I like Marcus and Maria fine, but I think that out of characters that actually have motivation and could have and gave away all their potential to help everybody else, she's the only actual virtuous one. In any
I just feel that Marcus was out. Marcus was out. He didn't want it anymore. Now he's been sort of dragged back in. I think he's just got a sort of apathy towards the whole situation. Let's just get this done and let me get out of here again. I think he's exhausted at this stage.
And from this point on, too, the whole Stefano and Maria aspect, I related to Marcus on this because I don't know. I've been in a relationship before where I was in a relationship where very much party mode. Like this girl and I drank all the time, partying. And then when I went back to school, I got serious, right? I stopped partying and stuff. And she never let up, and she kept going out, coming back home at all hours of the night. And I'm like, you could take a night off. You don't have to party every night. And I totally relate to him, kind of like, like that whole part I can see, and I can understand the drifting and like, I don't know. I just saw that part, and I kind of felt for Marcus there, kind of like.
Well, I mean, he's not. He's running around with Jayla, and basically, he in this scene where like they go and assassinate the senator or whatever, he basically labels her as the Willie he'd like to fuck. I mean, she's just like her, but she's hot.
Yeah. I know. Like it comes. We will get back to it where. I don't know if it's this one or in the next deluxe, but we'll get to it where I'll forgive certain actions because
it's at the end of this one. Yeah, it's at the end.
It's at the end of this one. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I really loved this side quest with Stephen. What's the Australian kid's name again? Marcus
Sam?
And Jayla. Yeah, Sam. You kind of really get to know Sam's character, and he's kind of a little prick, even though they play him off as this kind of shy guy. He's got like a pretty cruel side to him when they're playing the water gun game. Like his little dissertation's pretty cold, man. He's
yeah.
I kind of wish they'd do more with him. Like,
yeah, because they never really, even in the like, it's just that's like a one-off, and they never develop it any further, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But they kill the senator at this amusement park. It's great. They leave the teddy bear with them. Jayla's scary, man. Like the girls in this book are way more scarier than the dudes. Like that.
Mm-hmm. More devious, like more cunning, more, like very more methodical, right? Like for the most part.
That's just women, Joe. That's why I'm alone. Although I'm starting to look at my history and I'm thinking, well, the common denominator is me.
Yeah. Yeah. Issue 42.
And then we get Rick just showing me how cool he is, because he has this whole scene about how David Lynch is amazing, and I agree. They talk about.
Can we talk about the opening page? More poop. He always has to throw poop into his story.
Yeah, basically it starts. Marcus is laid up on the toilet, and we're gonna find out why. But basically, like
trying to take a shit.
Well, it's more than that. He's white knuckle riding the rail, that's the trick he came up to while he was on acid in the bathroom. And this is almost a throwback to that.
And that leads into the Lynch part. Yeah.
The Lynch part, and it leads to basically to Stefano's having a big party at his family's cabin, and everybody's going. And we kind of jump to there, and Marcus is hanging out with Jayla, and she decides to go and talk to Saya because that was Willie's girlfriend. And they become buddies pretty much, and you get this kind of really funny scene where they reintroduce fucking Polly, my favorite character ever. Man.
Yeah.
Polly comes back.
Yeah.
Not for
So if I could just interject at this part. So they're at this party, right? And Marcus has been clean for a while. He's cleaned up his act. And he's sort of been he is now very uncomfortable around all the comings and goings of the party. And I started to think to myself that this is almost becoming like a classic Greek tragedy at this point. It's sort of exploring the themes of sort of free will, destiny, and the tragic nature of human existence. And there's one Greek myth that it drew me to specifically, which is Oedipus, which there's basically like a cursed child that everybody, I mean, he doesn't fuck his mum, but I mean, that was the Greek side of it. But other than that, you had the sort of curse of the child, abandonment and adoption, tragic discovery, the sort of consequence of death and the end of lineage. And they're all themes that are very present in Oedipus's Greek myth. And then looking at Marcus at this point, I could draw big similarities between, like the classic Greek tragedies and where Marcus is currently in the story.
Nice, man. I didn't even think of that, but like that's a really cool parallel you drew. Plus, if you want to read a really cool comic book that does dive into the Oedipus myth, like check out Greek Street by Peter Milligan from Vertigo. Really cool comic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but basically, like Polly's there, and he kind of does this, tries to start to spin the bottle game, and like that lands on Saya, and they ask her about and we find out that Marcus was her first, and
that in the cemetery, yes.
And
that was
bailed.
A big surprise. Surprise.
And we get probably my favorite bit of foreshadowing here with Victor and Stephen setting up for something that's going to go down.
Yeah.
A little bit. But like, yeah, they get into one of their normal arguments. But like, yeah, the type of tension that's in the air, it's a bit palpable, one might say.
Yeah, and then the next page too, you get the going-ons of Shabnab and
Grande, and she's burning him with cigarettes, man.
He fucking puts a cigarette out on his neck. Like, what the fuck? She is vicious. That's like
horrible.
That's she encapsulates like not domestic abuse. Like, I mean,
yeah,
she's very anyway. So that's foreshadowing for something that's going to be coming up later too.
I had an abusive partner once, and at the time, you don't really think much of it because you're a man. But she used to use the temper, and I'd have fucking like textured scratch marks across my chest, on my arms, and she'd rabbit punch me in the arm and that. And obviously, I've got quite a loosey-goosey way of telling stories, so I do apologise if it feels like I'm not taking this seriously. But like at the time, I was like, it was just annoying. But then you look back at it and you think, like, I didn't tell anybody because I was embarrassed about it. And like, I'd show a couple of my mates and they were like, oh, do you have a rough night last night? I was like, yeah, but not like that.
Yeah, I wish. I wish it was like that.
Yeah. But like at the time, it was just like, oh God, here we go again, sort of thing. And there was a point where I just try and walk away from it because, like, say if I ever lose my temper, there's only one loser in that instance. So what I'd have to do was I'd make a run for the front door and then I'd look at the back door and start moving. So I'd have to drop my shoulder and then sprint to the front door and then just go to the pub for a couple of hours while she calmed down. So yeah, I can, when I saw these few pages, it did make me recollect like a situation that I'd actually, and it's the only time I'd actually felt quite sorry for the poor chap. I mean, he's a piece of shit, so you reap what you sow. But this was, I mean, it wasn't sympathy; it was empathy for me at this point.
That situation, that specific situation.
Yeah.
And then the rest of this book happens, and you kind of forget that, right?
Yeah, well, I was pretty pleased at that point the way it worked out.
Yeah. I don't feel bad. It's like it seemed like a logical outcome conclusion, right?
I'm not just talking about that point. I'm talking about like everything he does after, like
book 4. Yeah. Oh yeah, like the final. Yeah, book 4. Oh, anyway, we'll get to it, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna say anything, but woo!
Pump those brakes, Joe. Jesus, I was just getting vague, dog. Like,
anyway, I
tell you what, mate. If I'm enjoying this that much, I mean, probably except for the remaining text of this, not even all of it. It's just like I said. Anyway, point being, that'll be the easiest way to end a friendship, mate. Let me tell you that much.
Anyway, we get back to a little tension between Maria because of Stefano and Marcus.
And we find out what happened to Marcus's colon, like why he's pooping. Like he's kind of being a drabber guy. He asks for a club soda. And Maria's already smashed. So Stefano brings him his club soda, and they kind of take off. And Marcus finds out why he's
spiked his drink.
Yeah, he put eye drops, right? You put eye drops in somebody's water and it makes them shit. Like at least that's what I was always told in school. I never did it, but. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was because he was going through a detox. I thought he was shitting because of the detox, and I thought they put something in his drink because they were trying to get him in the party mood.
But it made him think of when he was detoxing, right? So then he's like, "That's it. He spiked my fucking drink." That's where he comes to the realization. Like all these things start connecting, and he's like, "He put something in my fucking drink because." The only time I felt this way is when I was detoxing something out of, and then he kind of connects everything.
I'm so glad you two are here.
Yeah, and Stefano and Maria go to get some air.
And Marcus decides while the cat's away, the mouse will play. So he does to try to find Jayla, and she's preoccupied with Saya. Close the fucking door, Marcus. So he goes and tries to find a quiet room for himself, opens the door, and oh my god! There's Steven and Victor.
And who's the one who's Victor's the giver in this one?
Yeah, Victor's
he's giving a bit of gobble. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
The hokum is
now we know why. Back when Petra was like he couldn't get it up. Remember when she said she hooked up with Victor and saying that he couldn't get it up? He's not into girls. He's not into girls. That's why, man. That's why he couldn't get it up.
And
but that was a pretty big rip. I thought that was I didn't catch on to that so much, but I should have. The short shorts with a fanny pack. It all made sense after this panel.
It's so great. And then we switch back to Grogda and Shabnab. They're out by the fire net this time, and she's still giving him shit. So finally, he just whack, just axes her head and drops her ass in the fire, man. To where Brandy comes out, and I love this scene where like Marcus goes to find Maria, and then he just walks by and sees Grogda in the fire. He's like, "What the fuck?" And Brandy's like, "Your girlfriend's that way." Like, and Brandy is so good.
Yeah. He's like, I guess we broke up. Yeah, but that's like the bucket, like the drop that overflowed, right? It's just the last. He just snaps after all these years. Like, how many years is this of just her riding him, telling him he's nothing. He's nothing without her, and not just the physical abuse too, not just the mental abuse. It's like the whole package, and then he just snaps, man. Axe to the forehead.
Because he actually starts speaking quite moderate at one point, doesn't he? Like, well, why do we need to? Like, you don't have, like, for you, it's just all about the power, and you don't really care about us
this relationship
getting anywhere. About even in this sort of hierarchy of the school, like, you don't really care about us maintaining the top echelon. You just like the confrontation of obtaining the power.
Yeah. And then he just roasts his marshmallows on her body. On her flaming body. Yeah. So issue 43.
Maria and Stefano, they're out in the woods, getting some cocaine, and then Marcus catches up to him, and they're doing what you thought would be doing.
Finally, Stefano gets to her.
Son of a bitch.
And
I hate this guy.
Yeah, I wasn't mad at Maria. Like, I was, because previous issue, like not too long ago, and I think Marcus, I mean, obviously you're going to feel betrayed and sad, but dude, you were just about to go hook up with Jayla, right? Don't be so hypocritical of Maria that, like.
Plus, he knows she can't handle pressure well. Like they've been through this before in the second arc, man. She it's not good at keeping secrets and being under pressure, man. Like,
don't get me wrong, it's a shitty thing to do, but at this point in their relationship, like you said, all the past shit that's happened between them, like if something like this happens from either or, it's like you knew that you know who I am. Yeah.
Well, the thing was,
like, sooner or later.
Well, the one thing is when they were out of it, they just had each other. They didn't have any distractions or anything. But it's just weird how, like, you throw them in a social setting and they can't even stand each other. And I've actually seen couples do this. So it's like Rick's not just making this up. Like, this is actually a thing that happens. Like, you were saying, Joe, it had pretty much happened to you. So
yeah,
but
that pretty much exactly.
Marcus in
except for all the murdering and the death, but I mean the rest is pretty accurate.
But before we move on, okay, so this is the second. From this point onwards, it's just preposterous. Like, it is I think it just loses its identity. And I feel like for the first time, any of the action scenes felt obligatory. Like the whole passage of the events that have just come, I was like, just let them, like, there's so many individual instances that develop characters or change a character's path that we don't need like another kind of similarly dressed opposition that comes from nowhere. The passage of events that come after this, I was like, oh fuck! Like I weren't interested at that point. We had enough going on with enough separate entities in the story. But yeah, fire away.
Well, I kind of enjoy the events. And it's just Marcus runs away and runs headfirst into Helmut, who's like all black metaled out, man. He's like got the corpse paint on, and like he's got his huge axe, and he's basically telling them like it's time to pay. We kind of leave that. Whereas Petra's dad comes out of the woods and meets up with Shabnab, and like they basically tranquilize Brandy and start talking about how she's the prophesized bride and put her in a bag. Like, as much as I hate Brandy, like I almost felt a little bad for her at this point. I'm like, oh, that's a little too much, man. She's getting like taken away by some creepy cult leader to become child bride. Like that happens.
This has one of my favorite lines in the whole of the title, because he's toasting the marshmallows on top of whatever her name is like roasting dead body, and he's just kind of like frozen contemplatively, and Brandy turns around and goes, "This is moving past impressive displaying in career and into right creepy corpse fucker," or something like that.
Yeah.
I butchered that, but you get the idea.
Yeah, it was a good line. Yeah, I enjoyed that too. Like, it's like, yeah.
And back at the party, Helmut's got a bunch of like black metal, like cult, like dudes jumping out of the woodwork, and they're killing some of the underclassmen. Jyla, Tashawi, Zinzali, Steven, and Victor, they all start just killing fools. It gets good to it. It's like you said.
It's just, but for what? What is the motivation of those people? Like his helmet.
It's an action comic, dude.
I know, but this just. I don't know. I just felt this was one step too far in this one volume.
Instance.
Because I couldn't see the motivations for it. I couldn't see, because we see Helmut being taken away in the car, and then all of a sudden he's been completely indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Indoctrinated. How much time's passed? Is he following the cult, or is the cult following him because he's provided an opportunity for him? I feel like there is an issue missing here before this issue, where we get a little bit more of what happened to Helmut, and we actually expand on a couple of the comings and goings at the party. I think one issue helps me because I see the motivations and I see the causality of it. This just seemed like, okay, we've got another army of goons, and they've turned up, and everyone's got a matching uniform, and all hell breaks loose again. Yeah, I struggled with this bit, so that's just.
I found Helmut's character from this point on in the book. They don't go into much detail about his character, even in, like, let's say Deluxe 4. Like, as it goes, they don't go into much of the like a lot of the main characters. They do like those flashbacks, like they do a lot of content.
Yeah.
Whereas from now on, there aren't too many more flashbacks, which I thought were super effective in the first parts of the book, which they don't resort to as often, I find, from this point on, which helps give you a little extra context, like you said. And
he's a great character as well. When he turned up like this, I was like, I need a reason why. Like, I don't need a reason why, because the reason's there. But what I need is what specifically led to this now. But yeah, I've said that already. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on it, because, like I said.
Helmut already said that he wanted to kill everybody that was involved in Petra's death. He wanted to come and basically, Petra's dad's a math manipulator. He leads a sex cult that murders people on a regular basis. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he was just easily persuaded, because he was already in a fragile state of mind. Like, I don't really think a spoon-fed reason is really needed. I think that
No.
you have Helmet's made his point clear. Like, I think they just pounded it into your head. Like, it would. I don't know. I thought that everything was pretty understandable.
But also, if you're like you said, he wants to punish anyone that was involved in the deaths.
Yeah.
So you know who should be number one on the list?
Yeah,
Lynn,
yeah.
King Dominion, right? If it weren't for that fucking school, then Petra would still be alive. And the whole she was a rat, and the whole point of the end of that, the beginning of the second one, was the hunt of the rats, and that's why. That's what ultimately led to her dying. Was that one single event in her life ultimately led to her dying.
But the thing is, this Helmet's being controlled by Petra's dad. Petra's dad's
So
let me just put it another way then that isn't quite as negative. For me, it's the first time when I questioned anything. Like, I felt that it was the only time where there was a question to be asked, whether it was legitimate or not. This was the only time where I'd gone, I'm not too sure about that. Because they're a cult, they're not an army. Whereas everybody else, there's been seeding, there's been it's been derived from where the kids came from. And I know this is Petra, but they're a church, they're a cult, and now they're a fully formed army, and not just in a sex murder cult, if you know what I mean. Like, it was okay. This is we need another mass threat, and this was produced. So I think, like I said, it's the first time I was asking the questions.
Yeah, and I don't completely disagree with you, because he was going there to kill Petra's father, because ultimately he's the one who fucked her up, and now he's like on his side, and like I get what you mean. Like, how did that?
It was quick as well. It was quick. It was so quick.
How did he go from wanting to murder the father to being like, the second coming of their fucking I get that for sure.
If there was a passage where I knew that a month had passed or something like that, I could probably I don't know, maybe anyway, I've made you dwell on it too much. So
But anyway, it leads to some great action sequences anyway. So
there's no two ways about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Shabnab's working with Brandy's dad, and this is where we learn how evil Shabnab really is. Mm-hmm. He kills Polly. What a piece of shit. Even Victor wouldn't kill Polly, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. Polly's dead now. After all his I'm Polly, man. Everyone loves Polly. Well, obviously not Petra's father.
Or Shab, yeah. Shab.
Through the eye too. What a way to go.
We get this pretty cool scene where Helmet's dragging Marcus, and you see him change into all the different characters while he's kind of explaining his plight. This kind of, I wish Marcus would have got some kind of cool points here, but doesn't really happen for him. But meanwhile, back at the party, the place is on fire, and all the underclassmen are scared. So Victor, out of all people, saves the day, man. Breaks the door down, gets everybody out. So they all bust out. They got their hero poses going on.
Yeah,
they're wrecking the cult and shit. It's pretty rad. But meanwhile, Victor sees Brandy's dad running with or Petra's dad running with Brandy in the bag, and he's still thinking that that's his girlfriend, and so he tries to go and save her when somebody shoots his knee out. I wonder who did that. But it's so sad, man. Victor's actually being fucking chivalrous and saving the kids and stuff, and this happens to him. Basically, Jayla comes to him and tells him this is revenge for Willie. Kills Victor, and kind of sets Brent dude. I understand what you're saying, Matt, but where the book goes and how it ends, I can't gripe, man. I'm just
yeah. You'll see when you read Deluxe 4.
What happens with Brandy and stuff. It's good, dude.
That's why I read. That's why I got through it so quick. Yeah, so you'll see once you get there. Yeah.
Helmet's monologuing, and Maria shows up. She's wrecking him pretty much, but Helmet gets over on her. He's got the axe to her throat. Zinzali's killing fools, you know what I mean? And Helmet's telling him you killed let Petra die, so I'm gonna take away everybody you love. And all of a sudden shots ring out, Brandy, Maria saved, but oh my God, that piece of shit, Stefano saved her, man. Comes out of the woodwork, and they're all lovey-dovey, hugging on the ground. Marcus sees the Uzi, picks it up, and this book ends with bang, bang.
But there's one scene you skip past where Shabnab, Victor gets killed by Jayla, but then the following scene after, Shabnab knocks Saya, catches her by surprise when she's facing off against one of the cult leaders, knocks her out with a stone, then handcuffs her to like a post connected to the burning house. So the only way she can save herself from the burning inferno is to, like he says, the sword can't cut through the cuffs, but they can cut through something else. And then it goes back to
as an engineer and her being a limber lady, you see steel's good in tension, but it's not good in torque, which is rotation. So if she was to sort of go over on her back and like keep on going round and get the tension in the links enough, they would shatter.
But she probably didn't get to the engineering part of her course at
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what's going to be my point. Maybe if they did a little less poisoning and a little bit more engineering, she'd be keeping her hand, Joe. Can we just pause on Victor's death for a second? I hated it. I mean, not like hated it and it was bad. I would Devo, like he'd undergone such a character arc, and now he's just been shot basically by some unscrupulous little harlot. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot. Did you get? I don't think Johnny. I let Johnny finish the big part of Stefano saving Maria. Right, where he picks up the gun that Stefano used to save Maria from Helmet.
Yeah, that's what I was
saying.
And
Marcus picks it up.
Picks up the Uzi, and the arc ends bang bang. Did Marcus
bang? Yeah. And that's why. As soon as I finished it, I went and broke out fucking volume 4 because I was like, I gotta fucking know now. I gotta know because if Marcus does kill Maria, if he does, I'd be like, dude, you're a fucking hypocrite, man. It's like, man, if he does kill her, it's like, no. I'm sorry, Mark. There's no redemption for Marcus if he shoots Maria.
I was at such a position where that whole sequence felt so off to me. On that final reveal, I was kind of, well, there's been a lot of mono confrontations. There's been a lot of death in the last couple of issues, and also there's been a sort of expedited conclusion to a couple of the characters and a couple of the conflicts. When it got to that point, I was like, well, they're either dead or they're not, and maybe they can come back because a lot of characters have come back. It wasn't quite as impacting for me, but I think it was because I didn't enjoy the last issue or two, so it wasn't quite as impacting for me. Like, I'm intrigued to find out, but I'm like, I'll just find out.
Well, it's a good thing you're not in a really big rush to find out because it's not answered right away. Like a lot of these other ones, it's not answered right away as the arc starts up, man. You kind of, man, it'll be neat, man. I don't want to ruin anything.
I did because I needed to know. So I broke out my Deluxe, the 4th edition book 4, and I just burnt through that. Like, I think that's the fastest I've read a book in a long time. I really enjoyed.
It goes in a new, different direction after here, man. It really does.
Cool. I'm excited. I'm still like, I know.
I think you'll enjoy, like Johnny says, in a new. Because, like you're saying, now you're like, another group of goons for them to just tear up and stuff. So I think Deluxe 4 will be. I think you'll enjoy it because, like Johnny says, it's a little more refreshing. It's not like rehashing the formula, right? It's really good. I really enjoyed it. So
because when they did arrive back at the King's
Dominion,
when they arrived back at King's Dominion, I was really looking forward to Marcus and Maria's machination. How how they were going to start. Almost like the first season of Prison Break. I wanted to see all the little actions all the way through, bit by bit, coming to term, and then at the end of it, boom, then we see what was happening. However, I did say to myself, that kind of sounds like an end of Deluxe 4 kind of story.
I think Rick had something like that planned, but I think he realized that, like, if he did that, he would just be writing this book for the rest of his life. And I think in a way, like, I agree with you. It does seem like he ran through some things, but at the same time, I get that, like, he did this book for like over 5 years. I mean,
it's still fucking brilliant though. Like, because we do a thing at the end when we spoke about something on our podcast, me and Tim, and I say, like, you can't 7 out of 10 read or watch something. You either recommend it or you don't. And like I said, this is only held me hostage to its own quality. And this is just absolute primo comic writing, comic art, the stories, the character, everything about this is just top tier. Like, it's in the conversation for one of my favorites ever, irrespective of what I had to say at the end of it. And I would recommend this as an individual piece of the puzzle, if that were possible, and 100% the whole of it. But yeah, this is still very much highly recommended as a completed collected edition. Make no mistake.
But I do agree with the one minor gripe you had is Helmet's storyline. That was a little. Yeah. That was maybe the only thing was his storyline. Like everyone else has like these moments where you're like, you feel for them, or you're like, you're a fucking prick, you know, whereas Helmet, you kind of feel a little detached, right? Like, not as hating or loving him one way or the other. You're like, okay, he's going through the motions, and, you know, it kind of, you felt indifferent about his storyline, I found, after Petra's death, right? You become, okay, you know, it's like, he's being pouty Helmet, and, you know, and you kind of lose that aspect of the character that you loved, like his fun-loving kind of nature, where look at everything from the bright side, right? Even though he's like this
metalhead.
And you kind of lose that a little bit, where he just becomes so one-dimensional, I find, after Petra's death, that
he lost his cup half full energy.
And
but, like, I mean, his girlfriend is dead, so I mean,
yeah, so he got all depressed and boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how it is when your friends break up with a girl and they're depressed for too long. You're like, dude, get over it already. You know, it's like, come on, move on. You know, like, that's kind of like what I felt about Helmet. You know, stop being a little fucker about it. And, you know,
he knew that she killed Billy as well. He knew that. He knows what the price of a relationship is in this setting.
She didn't just kill Billy; she played with his dead body too. I mean, like, that was a creepy ass scene, man. I understand that it traumatized her still, but like, at the same time, she did it. Like, that's somewhat unexcusable behavior, in my opinion, right?
I mean, this is where we need an expansion of the saying the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Every character in this fucking book deserves to die. Yeah, I mean, there's no hero in this book anywhere. Like, anyone who views any of these characters as a hero, well, I'm sorry, but I don't think we were reading the same story. You know, they're all villains, basically. You know.
Yeah, just to pick up on Lynn. Oh, you're taking. Oh, yeah, everything was in my pan. Yeah, I put. It's like, hang on a minute. King's Dominion. How long have you been running this show? How long have you been dealing with these sorts of people and this fucking havoc, global fucking havoc? And then they've got this wood cabin, and it's a sex cult this time. Lynn needs to get his fucking shit in order, is what Lynn needs to do. He needs to start taking some agency over these kids. It's supposed to be about discipline. He only basically curbs behavior when someone's getting too powerful.
He disciplined
Matt. You sound just like Marcus, Matt.
Matt, he disciplined that Irish kid. Like, he disciplined one guy. Like, there was
who got set up by Brandy.
I'm sorry. I am so. But for someone that knows everything that's going on, he's doing a pretty shit fucking attempt at it. And like, how many assassins does he need at the end? 1, 2, 3. He ain't gonna have many left the way he's going. He needs to go full lockdown, get them all in there, get them back to the lessons. Because I suppose in a way, even with the storytelling, King's Dominion, like the deadly class, it's barely involved. A few passages in each collected edition, but like Mr. Lin, he's why these bloody kids are going ham every issue. He needs to put his foot down, Joe. He needs to take responsibility, and he needs to get things back on track. Because I'm telling you, I don't hold much optimism for the 4th Deluxe edition. I'm telling you that.
Now that you're further in, Spanky, do you see what I mean about the show version of him? Like them trying to make him half a good guy, though. Like why it was kind of really jarring for me. Like I get that, like they had Benedict Wong playing him, but like Benedict Wong could be a good bad guy. Just because he's Wong and Marvel doesn't mean like he can't be an evil little shit that knows everything. I knew that you know that I knew that you knew.
God, I just wish that had gone on. I wish there was more of that. The more I've read of this, I need more of it. It's such a shame that no one picked it up. It's even taking away the enjoyment I've had reading this, and even the fact that it's a comic adaptation. Just pure and simply, it was a really good TV program. It deserved more.
Yeah. They should do it animated this time. They should do it again, but just do it animated.
Yeah. Are you guys watching Invincible?
No.
I've watched. I think. I don't know if I'm caught up on the. Hey, Chris, how's it going? I don't know if I'm caught up on the second season. I might have an episode or 2 to watch.
Yeah,
I think I watched the first 2 or 3. Okay. Yeah,
I love it. I think it's a really good adaptation. I really, really like it. But
yeah, I thought they did a pretty solid job. What's that? Sorry,
I tried.
You didn't like it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Which one?
Invincible. You did? Did you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I mean, I like that they kept. Well, I think it's because it's not on. I'm gonna trash D+ here. I think they went and kept it as brutal. I think I'm happy it ended up on Prime, because I think if you left it in someone else's hands, they might have toned it down, the violence and the brutality a bit. But they kept true to the violence and the brutality of the comics. So
I think
I was happy for that.
Keeping Kirkman in the writers' room, I think, is the big advantage of that, because you can actually draw parallels to the way it's got a reordering of the story, as if he's doing a final pass on the actual the final comic or the final series. And also, which I didn't realise, was Kirkman was in the writers' room for Walking Dead, but the problem was it was taking 7 to 8 hours a day for the first 5 seasons, which I think most people agree with when it was at its best. But then he was having to do that and then spend 6 hours writing pages to get them to Allard, who would then have them drawn up for the next day. And he said he was getting like 5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, and he did that for non-consecutively for 5 years. So it's just good to see that he actually has some creative control of it, because some guys know how to do it, some guys don't. Lemire did a good job with Sweet Tooth, for example. I mean, at least like it's not the Sweet Tooth I wanted, but I can appreciate that it's a decent TV program. Yeah.
For sure. But hey, it's a shame that the series didn't keep going, because I thought they got off to a great start, and well, we could cry about it all we want. It ain't going to change anything, right? So,
well, not with that attitude.
Perfect casting, though, man.
Yeah, the casting was great.
It was fantastic.
So, like, I mean, I loved everything that came out from this franchise. The books are great. The one season we got of it was fantastic, and man, so like Matt says, I highly recommend this. This is definitely as well one of my favorites that I've read in a while, and it doesn't disappoint. Wes Craig is fantastic, like you said. Some of the best action sequences in comics. I mean, yeah, and I relate to this story a lot because it almost follows my path of school and everything all the way up till the end of Deluxe 4, right? Like, I mean, I can relate to a lot of stuff because I grew up a good chunk of my teenage years followed theirs, right? So, I mean, it's totally relatable if you're like mid 40s to 50s, man. You read this book and you're like, fuck yeah, you can, like, the references to the music, the pop culture. I mean, this is definitely a middle-aged book, right? For people in their middle ages, you could get a lot out of this and relate a lot to it. So, yeah.
Even like Marcus's t-shirts, he always has a different like metal t-shirt or punk t-shirt or whatever it is. Punk t-shirts. Yeah, so yeah, it's good.
I like
that.
That's
Adds a little extra dimension.
Like Rick made up his own bands too, like the Loose Screws and the Black Lips, right? Like those are, I don't think those are real bands, but
no. And what was that? Hot Garbage was the other one from the
Hot
first?
Garbage. Yeah, you're right. There's three. Then there's Hot Garbage, and Loose Screws.
Maybe those were like all high school bands he was in.
Maybe
that's what I would love to get him on the show. We could ask him all these little questions, like the bands you made up. Were those actually like little bands you were a part of in high school, and you just threw them in your book, or like it'd be awesome to ask him.
For the first episode we did on this, I listened to. There was a Deadly Class podcast that I was listening to on Spotify, and I think I remember something like there were little known, not friends bands, but the one that appeared in the first instance was a little known band from around his area, sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
I might be misremembering, but I recall something to that effect.
Just a scene band. Gotcha.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah, beautifully put, Johnny. Thank you.
But yeah, we'll be back next month. We're gonna do the end, and we will be spoiling the end of the book, so everybody be prepared for that.
Oh,
and it'll probably be a long.
We'll be doing the end with the end, so it works out great.
It'll probably be a long video too, because we're gonna be covering another deluxe. Plus, I think we're gonna be putting our final bows and doing a grand discussion for the book. I would say so. Buckle in, guys. Like this one already went 2.5 hours, so we might be keeping Matt up really late over there in the UK, burning at midnight.
That's okay. It's only 9:30 at the minute, but I've got a podcast to edit before I go to bed. So,
so yeah, man. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you guys listening. Once again, thanks to Matt for coming in and talking Deadly Class with us. We always love it when you're on the panel with us and shooting the shit. So man, can't wait for the next discussion on the next volume, Deluxe Book 4.
Are we doing something tomorrow, Joe, or Tuesday?
What's that? What?
Are we doing something Tuesday? I know we got
Pat Monday. Pat tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Pat O'Malley and Dan Reynolds. And Tuesday, we have a call on Tuesday with a certain creator that we might have on.
Yeah,
so we have a business call on Tuesday. Which
tomorrow my copy of Corona Bible should be in. So 500 fucking pages. I didn't know that it was that big. That's a tome, man.
Yeah, man.
That's gonna kill my foot if it falls on it, man. But
then Friday we have our first episode of the Nick Cage Love on Thursday, on the 30th. Sorry, Thursday the 30th. With we're gonna have Chris Evans, who popped into the chats. He'll be there with us, along with this is Cookie's Jam. So Cookie will be picking a Nick Cage movie that we watch, and we'll discuss. So I think she went with The Knowing, but I'm not sure if that's what she stuck with. But last news I had, it was The Knowing. So we'll be talking about the Nick Cage flick, The Knowing, supposedly. Yeah.
Should be fun. We'll see you guys then. Take it easy, y'all.